Welcome to episode 254 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast.
I think we're all wearing the same shade-ish of green.
I planned it that way. It's fine.
That's funny.
Hold on, make it.
Sorry.
Talk amongst yourself.
Oh, yeah. So we are episode 254. Still don't know how we've gotten that far along. I do apologize for not being here last night. My mental sanity required me to take a hour and a half long bubble bath, and it was beautiful. I may have fallen asleep at some point in the bathtub, but it's okay. It's worth it. I didn't drown. We're fine.
We're gonna see how well this fan works.
What's wrong? Is it bothering you?
No, I've never used this fan.
Oh, and you put it on the tripod. It's super fancy.
I know. Now, see.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do sponsor stuff.
All right. If you are looking for commercial breeders, commercial feeders,
You want to start over again?
for breeders,
Start all the way. Start over again. That was god awful. I apologize.
So
If
sorry.
I can't do this.
I'm sorry, Lewis. Lil's Shop of Horrors operates a commercial feeder breeder facility based out of San Antonio, Texas, and they specialize in rats, mice, dubia roaches, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and more. As feeder breeders, they focus on the nutritional needs of the animals that consume them. They provide feeders for everyone from a first-time keeper with just one snake to large-scale breeding operations with many animals, as well as supplying pet shops. There is no order too large or too small. So feel free to contact them through any of their social media pages at Lil's Shop of Horrors or email them via their inquiries page at lilsshopofhorrors.com.
Also, if you're in the chat, if you can hear wind in the background, let me know. I can't hear it on this side. I think the fan's good, and I think
James, he's going to be paranoid.
I do. I need it to sound good.
If it's not good sound quality, he's going to not be happy with it.
It may not be a good podcast, but it'll sound good.
Yeah. Very true.
That's my goal every week. We may not be good, but we can sound good.
Oh my goodness. See, Christina says we can't hear it.
Well, she's in, I think, Idaho, so they can't hear anything.
Yeah, she's in one of those states
they don't
that I
have
can't
sound
find
over
on
there.
the map. Darren says we're good. Darren, are you still rocking only 2 snakes?
Weirdo with only 2.
Every time I read that line in the blurb about for the first time people with just 1 snake, I'm like, nobody has just 1 snake. And then I'm like, oh wait, Darren only has 2.
Well, see, nobody has just 1. Darren has 2.
It makes me smile.
Darren is the unicorn. I've met people with 1.
Mhm.
I've met people with 20. Darren's the only person I know with 2.
So my coworker has 2. The one that got the ball python from us?
Yeah, not for long though.
Not for long.
They'll get another one.
She's already looking for a 3rd one.
Anyways, Herbst Reptile shows. Next Herbst Reptile show coming up is Slidell, Louisiana, April 5th, April 6th. Then up to Belton, Texas, April 26th, April 27th. Then back over to West Monroe, Louisiana, May 3rd, May 4th. Up to Stillwater, Oklahoma. What?
That should be 4th and 5th, I think.
No, it says May 3rd, May 4th.
Is it?
It's what it says right here on the website.
Okay, then I need to check dates for something else.
What are you checking?
Please, sorry, continue.
Anyways,
my bad.
Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm not repeating that one. Doesn't matter because we're not going to Stillwater. That's too far. That's might as well go to Canada. Denison, Texas, June 7th, June 8th. Conroe, Texas, June 14th, June 15th. Which will I be here June 14th or June 15th? I told them that I was going to be there possibly to pencil me in for being at the show.
Yes, I don't think we leave until the next week.
Okay. So I should be at Conroe.
I think.
And we should have the table set up and do interviews. I'll make Katie come for at least one day and do interviews.
I think we have to pick our kid up from camp one day.
That's not a we. That sounds like a you.
It's that just one of us has to pick her up.
Longview, Texas, June 21st, June 22nd. And then Sulphur, Louisiana Sulphur, Louisiana is basically the old Lake Charles show is June 28th and June 29th. All right.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, I think we'll be in Conroe.
Okay.
There's a lot. There's like a back-to-back camp thing going on for Joe and like 3 different locations that we've got to get her to and from.
Yeah, we just want to shove her off on other people,
it's crazy.
Make her their problem.
We had it spread out, and then band camp is going to be earlier than I thought it was going to be, so we had to reschedule stuff.
No one cares.
I care.
I get it, but they don't.
Well, too bad. It's a free podcast. They don't have to listen.
That's true.
Skip ahead 15 seconds, folks.
Well, we've already wasted probably 20 on this.
Who cares?
And if we keep waiting, it'll be 30. If I keep waiting, it'll be...
You know what? This is my podcast. I can talk about whatever I want.
Is it really your podcast?
I'm here.
only one person's been on every episode. All 254.
Hey, I don't have to be here.
No, but you don't really have any other option right now either.
No, I don't.
Shut up, Kyle. I knew someone would do the. We get it. There was a joke one time.
She plays tuba. We don't have to worry about anything.
Some of y'all weren't even alive to see American Pie, so what's the matter? Norm, y'all can't afford skip buttons in Oklahoma. So just be glad that you got this in Oklahoma.
Oh Lord.
Anyways, check out VivTech products for all your LED UVB light bulb needs. If you haven't bought an LED UVB light bulb from VivTech, which we've got to give away, I've got 4 of them sitting around here somewhere, and I'm going to give away at least 1.
Okay.
Maybe 2.
Okay.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to make a post, and you need to show me the setup you want the light bulb for.
Ooh, I like that.
If you plan on getting something, I need to see a picture of the species you plan on using it for. So either the current setup you have or the species you plan on getting. Because someone may think, oh, I got the bulb now. I need to get a lizard.
I do that sometimes. I get all the supplies and then I get the animal.
So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to post that over on our Facebook
I like
page.
that. I love seeing people's setups for stuff.
We'll run
it gives me ideas. But then the problem is it's like when I go to people's houses and I see how they organize something, then I want to come home and I want to do it to my own stuff.
I've never wanted to do that.
I want to clean things or rearrange furniture. Never. See, I rearranged my classroom today, so now I don't have to rearrange at home anymore.
Yeah, not doing that. But we'll run it all the way through April.
Maybe it's a female thing. I don't know.
Or maybe it's just a crazy you thing.
No, my coworker does it too.
She's also crazy.
I'm going to tell her you said that.
That's fine. She knows she's crazy.
You're still her favorite. It's fine.
So we'll run the thing all through April. I'll make a post over. Remind me tonight to do it when we get off here.
I'm gonna text you right now.
Yeah, you text me right now. It's not gonna matter.
I'm gonna forget.
But we'll give away a free VivTech bulb. But if you can't win the free VivTech bulb, go check out VivTech products. Use code Gumbo22 and save 15% on all of your purchases through VivTech. So go check them out. We got VivTech. We got Herps. We got Lil's Shop of Horrors. We got everybody, right? Just a shout out to our friends over at Focus Cube just because of the sign. I love the sign behind me still. It's still one of my favorite things I own. So if you're watching, you can see this. And then that sign over there was made by Robert. This sign was made by the Howdies at Focus Cube. There's not a sign here in case anybody wants to make me a sign. There's a spot.
We don't need anything else on the wall.
Who says? Anyways, got anything else going on?
I'm being harassed on a daily basis by my zoology club kids.
To do what?
To have another meeting.
They want more animals or just another meeting?
No, they just want to have another meeting. They don't even care. Like, I literally could just talk about stuff I have in my classroom. They are totally fine with that. But it's star testing time, and we can't do after school stuff.
Since the last time you were on, we took KP back to your school for
another event. Yeah.
Another event. I also have found that many of my reptiles enjoy chicken hearts. I bought a whole thing of chicken hearts from HEB. And then it was like 3 something for an entire tray of chicken hearts. And last night I went through my snake room and I fed everything except for large snakes because, I mean, a chicken heart's like eating a Tic Tac. So I'm not feed them that. But everything like all my adult Samboas, they all took chicken hearts. Our king snakes fucking love chicken hearts.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, all but one corn snake ate chicken hearts.
That surprised me.
All but one?
I expected all of them to eat.
Yeah, no, only one decided she really, really didn't want them. But then I fed Heinz, our like 20-year-old corn snake, and he would eat them like daisy chained. Like I could just like, he'd eat one and then I'd put the other one in front of him and he'd start eating that before the other one was always young.
Oh,
so,
that's funny.
I mean, because they're only a chicken heart's like, it takes like 4 chicken hearts to reach the size of an adult mouse.
I was going to say, they weren't large by any
So he
means.
ate like 7 of them and still wasn't anything.
How do other people consume chicken hearts? Like, do you fry them?
I think you fry them like gizzards.
I've never eaten fried gizzard either.
I don't know, but it's gonna
I mean, my mom would eat that.
It's gonna be pretty muscly. Anyway, I fed them to our Redfoots. I need to throw those away. I put some in there yesterday. The Redfoots didn't eat them, but I think they're full from the day before, and they've had some chicken hearts lately. I think they're full on protein.
My box turtle would love that.
Probably. The
kids would. They love when I feed her large hornworms because she like will bite it and then take her claw and like rip it open, and then goo goes everywhere, and the kids eat that up. They love it.
Well, there's no goo in a chicken heart.
No,
so
but they can watch her shred stuff, and I'm sure there's blood.
What else ate chicken hearts? Oh, one of my rainbow boas ate a chicken heart.
I'm such a cool reading teacher.
Boas. Some of my red tails ate chicken hearts.
Yeah.
They ate them. My Russian Samboas ate chicken hearts. My Indian Samboas did not. Half of my Mexican rosy boas did. It was weird. A lot of snakes ate them, but in some cases, not all of one species ate them. Like
That's
corn
what you were
snake,
telling us in the car.
Mexican.
Yeah.
The rough-scaled sambos didn't want them except for the baby that was in our room. He had a chicken heart.
I forget that thing is there.
He ate last night.
It's not that you don't take care of it. It's just in a very small container because it's a baby and it's on a bookshelf and it's not in the closet. So I don't have any animals in the closet right now. So in my brain, we have no animals. No, because I have rearranged and there's now no space.
Oh, I can find space for a snake.
I've got to find space in 41 days for everything in my classroom in this house.
Your craft closet needs to become a reptile room.
You shut your mouth. Speak such blasphemy here. I just got that closet.
You have to put them in the kitchen again because there's reptiles in every other room. Oh wait, I got an alligator in there.
But we've got the alligator in the kitchen now.
They're gonna have to clean the you know what you do? You clean that cubby hole in our closet and turn it into a small reptile room.
I don't want to put their stuff behind my clothes.
It's behind your clothes. I don't care about it.
No.
It's not my clothes.
No. I'll figure it out.
Anyways, I'm trying to think of anything else interesting. Oh, the rubber boa ate chicken hearts. That thing loved chicken hearts.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. A lot of chicken hearts. Go try chicken hearts. I want to try drumsticks for the bigger snakes. I want to go buy some chicken drumsticks, some chicken legs, and see if like the big boas will eat them, or if like the pine snakes will eat them, because those are cheap. I'm going for anything at this point that's cheaper than mice, because mice are expensive, and so
I think it's really cool to vary their diet.
That's why I'm doing it for a varied diet.
I mean, that's what I was going with.
And
you do you, babe.
And because an entire tray of chicken hearts was like $3.50 versus a mouse, which is like $3.50. So, and I got to feed a bunch of snakes. So go to your grocery store or go to like your Asian market, guys, and try stuff. Kyle says he wonders if his Amazon tree boa would eat them. I don't know. I mean, you would imagine.
They're really good for dog treats. You can cook them in the air fryer.
I can tell you, our dog did not want them.
Would you give it to her raw?
A lot of dogs eat raw food.
Oh.
Like raw meat.
Our dog
did not want them. She would not touch them.
You know what she really loves though? Blueberries. She loses
can't be good for her
mind. It's actually good in like certain doses. Obviously, you don't want to overfeed her blueberries, but like if you give her like half a cup of blueberries as a treat.
Kyle said his Japanese rat snake ate quail and goes crazy for him. You could try chicken hearts with them, or I'm thinking you also like try like just chicken, like cut like strips of chicken or. Like chicken, I guess I'm gonna try some chicken with bone in it, so the calcium.
This website says to cut them up into small pieces and put them on top of your dog food for picky
Our
eaters.
dog would eat around it. Kyle, I would be very close to producing Indians. It's my Indians that aren't close to producing Indians. They're old enough.
They don't want anything to do with
that. The two of
that.
them just don't seem interested at all. I haven't figured that one out. And Darren, I'm hoping to produce rough scales because my females are good. The one male I have seems pretty lazy. That's why I bought a new young male that I'm raising up. And hopefully that will get them going. I can breed Kenyans all day. I have not gotten Indians or rough scales yet. So that is my goal.
So people do eat chicken hearts.
Yes.
Okay.
They saw it
when you Google best way to cook chicken hearts, all of the top answers are like for my dog, for my cat,
well,
for
that's
this
because
pet.
normal people would eat the good parts of a chicken. It's Darren knowing how to eat chicken hearts. That's like,
sauteed chicken hearts.
He said boiled.
I totally do. I'm cooking these one night. You don't have to eat it. Don't look at me like that.
That's like eating parts of pigs. There's just other parts of pigs.
No.
Or like Robert who likes chicken feet. I
bet it's crunchy.
A chicken foot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing
I bet if you fry it, I bet it's crunchy.
There's no nuggets in a chicken foot, so I'm not eating that. I'm eating chicken nuggets.
You're so unadventurous when it comes to food.
I'm not unadventurous.
You never try new foods.
I know what I like.
But you didn't like sushi until I forced you to try it.
You didn't force me to try it.
I harassed you about it for years.
I still don't like sushi. I like anything with imitation crab, which is technically fish because it's white fish, but I still don't eat like sushi. Like I don't eat tuna or I'm not fucking eating eel.
I don't like eel. I've tried it a couple times.
So, and Kyle said put on Marvin Gaye, but Kyle, they don't have ears. So it doesn't really work for the snakes.
Oh goodness.
Hopefully I can get them good this year. We'll see what happens. Maybe if I get them pumped up on chicken, maybe chicken hearts are aphrodisiacs. Yeah, that's the right word. That's true. Norm, I did eat ketchup chicks and ketchup chip.
You had a ketchup chip.
I
had singular ketchup chip.
I had two because about a week ago I opened the cabinet and I didn't look at what was in the Pringles can and I ate one and it still tastes horrible.
I thought our kid ate them all.
No, she did not. She did not. She took
She
them.
put them in the pantry so you'd eat them.
Yep, they still taste like shit. I don't.
Oh, that's funny.
Canadians can keep that stuff. I'm telling you, we've tried it multiple times here in the U.S. and we just don't like ketchup chips because we have taste buds here in the United States.
So funny.
We haven't frozen them off with all the snow and mousse and maple syrup. The Canadian chocolates were good, except Norm, I'm fucking diabetic. Thanks a lot, man.
You didn't eat them all at once. You rationed them out. It's okay.
I did make myself sick a couple of times though.
That's your own fault.
That's Norm's fault. He bought
No,
them.
it's not. You need to have more self-control.
If chocolate's in your house, you're gonna eat chocolate.
No, we've had Girl Scout cookies in our house for months.
I said real chocolate.
Oh, okay.
See, Anal Side said eel is good. Yeah, you're wrong. I'm just not eating an eel.
I feel that way. I don't like mushrooms, so and a lot of people really like mushrooms.
I'm not eating fungus either. Not doing it.
I would be willing to try mushrooms again. It's been a while
Also,
since I've
Darren,
tried them.
I don't like soft shell crab because I know just peel the crab. Peel the fucking crab, eat the meat. My dad loves it. He grew up in Maryland,
I
so
like
he
soft
loves
shell.
soft bread, like fried.
That was my
shell.
grandmother's favorite. Was when Papa would bring soft shell
No,
crabs home.
Do you have ramps in Texas? What do you mean? Do we have ramps in Texas?
Like that you drive on?
I don't know what he means.
I don't know what a ramp is. I mean, I
Like-
know whatever.
You don't know what a ramp is? So there's a flat
I knew.
surface, and then there's a not flat surface. The not flat surface would be a
I don't think I've ever eaten jellyfish. We should bring Tabitha in and she can weigh in on these conversations with all of our weird food.
Who the fuck is eating jellyfish? You've been watching too much SpongeBob or something.
Jellyfish.
Sounds horrible. Like peanut butter and jellyfish? Did you know a sandwich? It's shockingly
I like
good.
making a peanut butter and jelly.
I made a joke. It's shockingly good. Whatever.
I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that are buttered and toasted
How do
like
you have to
grilled
bring
cheese.
someone in and then change the subject?
I'm still talking about food. I haven't changed the subject at all.
I gotta pause that again, I guess. So our guest tonight is Tabitha Blewett from Austin Reptile Service.
She's gonna regret asking to be on
It
this
is.
podcast.
Honestly, she probably is. How are you doing, Tabitha?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I don't know what the hell Kyle's eating where he lives, but Kyle, stop it. There's other food.
Isn't the urchin like deadly? Like
Uni,
you're not
that's
allowed to
blowfish.
eat that?
Uni, no, sea urchin is the yellow goo inside of the urchin shell.
That's probably
Uni?
really good. I like the yellow goo inside of crawfish, and nobody else really eats that.
I mean, sea urchin. A lot of people eat sea urchin. I'm not gonna fucking eat it because it looks gross.
The yellow goo, that's the only part you can eat, right?
That's all that's in there.
Oh.
It's not like there's a.
So you're
it's not
like
there's a
eating its
fillet.
brains.
There's not
pretty
a
much.
fillet. There's no brain. It's a sea urchin. It has no brain.
I don't know.
But it's not like a
Does it
fillet
really
of
not
it.
have a brain?
Not a true brain. No,
Oh, not like us.
not like most
or
things above it.
anything.
It has like.
So it's like an amoeba.
Well, no, an amoeba has.
How does this
nothing.
work? Explain this to me.
Jesus Christ. So sea urchins are in a group called echinoderms. There's them, sea cucumbers, starfish.
Okay.
So, and coral. No, coral are nidarians. So, yeah. Anyways, they have nerves, a
Okay.
very basic sense of like react to touch, and causing them to do stuff, but they don't have thought process. They don't have a full brain. They don't have like gray matter. They don't have like insects have a brain. Squid and
Canal side
mollusk
exotic
anyway.
speaking words. I understand. It's the row of the urchin. I
Yeah,
got
egg,
it. I
egg,
understand what
the
that
goo.
is.
it's the goo of an urchin. There's other things to eat, guys. Stop eating the nasty shit.
I mean, I
Stop
think
it.
it sounds good.
I don't
What?
understand.
I don't know what ramps
What
are.
do you mean by ramp? We have like,
I'm
like-
thinking of like an
like-
on ramp when you merge onto the
or
interstate.
like, are you on a skateboard and you're just wanting to do like X Games stuff in your backyard? Because
Google's
make
getting
one
a
of those.
workout tonight.
I feel like it's a gas station or something or a food place in Timothy's weird ass area wherever he's from. Are you looking it up?
It's a wild, bulbous, perennial flowering plant in the amaryllis family.
There's no. Is that? Wait, what?
It's a spring onion. That's all. It's leeks. They're wild leeks.
Oh,
And no, I'm not a big fan of onions.
say wild onions, Timothy. What the hell? Ramp.
I was like, wait a minute. I know what that picture is.
By the way, in case you haven't figured out, we're a reptile podcast that doesn't actually talk about reptiles most of the time.
Yeah.
Ends up being food for a large part of it.
Well, that's okay. I have strong opinions on what you guys are talking about.
You can chime in at any
Join
point.
us.
So here's the thing. I also don't eat fish or fungus at all, except
It's okay.
I love eel.
Really?
I
Maybe
know.
I just haven't had it cooked correctly.
Well, you haven't had it yet, like smoked on sushi or something.
I mean, that's what I eat
Yeah.
it in is sushi,
See?
and I
I've
love it.
had it on 2 or 3 other things.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'll pass.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh,
for me.
I love me some watermelon.
I like watermelon.
Yeah.
We're both
Sea
from
urchin
Alabama, the
feels
South. We have
like
watermelon, really good
snot and
watermelon down
tastes
here.
like fishy pee. That is very specific, Kyle.
It'll taste like barbecue chicken. There's no way.
So, fun fact about me: when I was young, you could tell me it was chicken, and I would eat it. To the point that until I was about 8, I thought fried oysters were my mama's special chicken because my parents told me it was chicken and I ate it. And so on Christmas Eve, I had an older cousin who was helping me get my plate, and she took me back to my mom because I'm like, I want the chicken. But I was pointing to fried oysters, and my cousin was like, I'm not putting that on her plate. She's 8. I don't know that she's going to eat it. And so my mom, that was the year I found out that it was really fried oysters. My mom's like, oh yeah, she wants fried oysters. Just go give her
The
some.
difference is our daughter would do that, find out, and then never touch.
It again. And I will like hurt myself if I find a place that has fried oysters that taste like my grandmother's.
Kyle, we can we please stop saying that everything tastes like chicken? I also have the theory that dinosaurs taste like chicken. Being that dinosaurs evolved into birds.
Okay.
So I would assume that a dinosaur tastes like chicken, which means
But not all birds taste like chicken.
which means that dino nuggets
Oh, no, sir.
taste like dinosaur.
No, sir. You are not.
They are
You are
dinosaur
about to
shaped.
be muted. I'm going to figure out
You
what
don't know how.
button over there to press.
They are dinosaur shaped nuggets that would taste like dinosaur.
Y'all, this is what happens when it gets close to testing season for teachers.
No, it's not. It's that someone said you can't tell me they didn't taste like chicken. Can you?
Nobody knows.
But it's a safe bet that if dinosaurs evolved into birds, chicken or birds, dinosaur tastes like chicken.
I'm going to need you to bring this whole conversation up tomorrow night when we go out with my friends.
Yeah, they'll agree. They'll totally agree.
Oh my God. I might have to take some libations with me tomorrow.
I mean, I've never eaten. I guess maybe it tastes like emu. I don't know what emu tastes like. I've never
I've
eaten.
never
emu.
eaten emu.
Mhm.
Or
So I would maybe
do people
assume.
eat ostrich?
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
eaten that. I've had emu eggs before.
So people say alligator tastes like chicken. I don't think that's true. But again, alligator being a reptile,
He won't eat it.
not a dinosaur. Alligators and dinosaurs are less related than dinosaurs and chickens. So
What does that have to do with your argument?
they would taste more like a chicken than an alligator
Okay.
because alligators are reptiles, dinosaurs are dinosaurs. They're not the same thing.
But again, I
Yeah.
think that comes down to how it's made. Because the only time I've eaten alligator, it was fried, and it did taste like chicken. Because
But does it taste like chicken or does it taste like the fry?
Does it taste like the fryer? Like the oil in the fryer that tastes like chicken?
Which is kind of what we-
It just tastes like fried meat.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of
So-
things end up tasting that way if we fry them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
So
think it comes down to how it's prepared.
when our daughter was younger, we would take her to a farmer's market and they would get a wooden token that was equal to $5 so they could spend on any fruit or vegetable they wanted. And she always picked fruits, but we made her pick at least one vegetable. Not that her dad ever ate it, but
I would get vegetables for the tortoises.
you did. And that's where we bought all our vegetables was from the farmer's market. But she got broccoli one time because it was like had just been picked or whatever. And so the guy at the booth told us to go home and cook it in the air fryer with salt and pepper. Tasted just like French fries. That kid ate broccoli for like 6 months after that,
Wow.
as long as it was cooked in the air fryer. And I was like, I don't care. She's eating broccoli.
All right. See, anal side said emu doesn't taste great. But again, that's coming from a Canadian and you may just not had good food.
Don't they sell horse meat in Canada?
They sell horse meat everywhere except for here because Mr. Ed's cute.
I mean, he is.
I've cut up horse meat for alligators. That
That's
shit looks
fact.
amazing. I wish we ate horse meat. It looks so good.
I found some really good recipes for chicken hearts. I'm
I
just
was you're about to
saying.
say for horse meat. And I was like,
No, I can't get that here.
Tabitha, have you ever eaten chicken hearts?
No, but I do feed them to my reptiles. So I have them.
Oh,
all.
that's cool. So
Yeah.
what reptiles do you have
Well,
that eat
let's
chicken? Okay.
let's get into. All right, we'll pause. Tabitha, tell us about yourself and also reptile service, and then we'll go from there.
All right, then back into chicken hearts.
Back into
Yes.
chicken hearts.
All right. So my name's Tabitha. I'm the owner of Austin Reptile Service. Austin Reptile Service has been around since 2000 or 2001. I can't remember which of the two. It was previously owned by a dear friend of mine who was a herpetologist named Tim Cole. He passed away pretty unexpectedly in 2022, and I purchased the company from his family to kind of keep a little bit of his legacy going. So
That's awesome.
We keep it going now. So primarily what we do is education, honestly. I do a lot of educational programs like training utility companies, building inspectors, cops, animal control officers, veterinarians, shelter staff, things like that. But I also, the other side of my company is because I'm a retired cruelty investigator, I serve as either a special investigator or expert witness in exotic animal cruelties. So it's kind of where my background of my career. I retired in 2018 from our local sheriff's office as a cruelty investigator and animal control officer. So I've spent the last 25 years in animal welfare, a big chunk of that surrounding animal cruelty investigation.
That is a fascinating
I hate that
career choice.
Well, I hate that Robert's not here because he used to be a cop at one point too. So
oh yeah,
would have been good. But
it's a weird life I lead. This is only one of
cool.
Yeah, it's one of two companies I own. The other company I own is called Humane Educators of Texas. That's my primary company I own with my business partner. And we have a brick and mortar training academy, which is where most of my reptiles live, is at our training academy. And we have classes there almost every day, except for now because I'm actually in Dallas because I'm teaching a class for the next 2 days up here in Garland. So we train there full time and have people there, and they get to see my reptiles there and take classes.
Who comes and trains with you? Like anybody who needs anything with animals?
Yeah, so most of our students are animal control officers. We get a lot of cops that come and take classes from us. And then we also get people like from shelters and vets and vet clinics and things. But we also just get general public that come and take classes from us as well. Breaking equipment.
No, it's our daughter takes 14 forever to get ready for bed, so she has alarms that let her know when. And I forgot to mute them before we started. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's her. Get your backpack ready.
We also have people like just the general public come and take classes as well, because we also teach things like pet CPR and first aid, and sometimes people just want to come take class. I teach 6 different rabies classes in my regular full-time job. So sometimes people just want to come and learn more about the weird things that are happening here in Texas.
It's a lot of weird things happening here in Texas.
There's a lot of weird
so cool.
I felt like there was more to that case.
Well, I have all these wheels turning and spinning and questions, and I need to process.
This is a podcast. You're allowed to ask this question.
Well, I know, but I had ice cream earlier, and now I'm all hopped up on sugar. And
what? You had McDonald's ice cream. You should be hopped up to make their ice cream machine work.
It was so good. I had to take 6 lactate pills to be able to eat it and not puke. It was so sad. But it was worth it. Oh my gosh, it was such a long day.
So I'm assuming the majority of what you did before was dog-cat abuse, or I guess large livestock being in Texas is a big issue too.
Yeah, so I didn't get too involved in livestock cruelties because our particular county had 2 dedicated cops who did livestock cruelty. So most of mine was small animals and exotics. So dogs, cats, birds, reptiles, wildlife, that kind of stuff. So that's where most of my knowledge base lies.
So these classes, do they just look up on the website and see what you offer and then sign up and register? And
yeah, my classes through Humane Educators of Texas is literally humaneeducatorsoftexas.com. My classes with Austin Reptile Service, people can go to my website, which is austinreptileservice.net, and fill out the form requesting whether they're wanting a photo shoot or film and television or an educational or library event or what all of the myriad things that I do with the reptiles. Either one, but both can be accessed on the website.
That is so cool.
You good?
Yeah, this is really interesting.
I agree. I'm just trying to figure out, you know what it is? You don't have your computer open, so you're actually paying attention. So I don't
have anything to grade. I did all that last night.
So
I'm not saying our last guests have not been super interesting, but they haven't really been my speed of interesting.
You weren't here last week, so
This is stuff. No, I was taking a mental health night. This is stuff like I could do when I retire.
what?
I used to do education programs.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I could leave you and move to Austin and work for Tabitha. Oh, what?
We
then?
pay terrible. You don't want to do that. We pay terrible.
Have at it. See how that goes. So I'm interested. So, I guess what is this is gonna sound bad because it's a bad thing. What is the worst thing reptile wise you came across in abuse? Because it kind of gets into the questions that we asked too, and so I want to get to that too. But what would be the worst thing you remember going, oh my God, that was horrible?
I mean, there's a lot. Probably the most recent of the really bad ones that I had. It ends with a happy story, so it's probably best to talk about that here because most people don't really want to hear about the stuff that didn't make it or.
I was just going to ask, do you have many cases that actually end happily?
A lot of them do. Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, of course, not all of them, but a lot of them do. So probably the most recent one that, when people come to see me, they do actually get to see her. She's still alive. And I heard you talking earlier about boas and sand boas. She's a little Kenyan sand boa. I had Adult Protective Services reach out to me, and they had an elderly couple who the husband was going into hospice and the wife was needing help. And he had been a herp owner their entire marriage, and they had loads and loads of animals. And as his health was declining over the previous 13 to 15 months before I got the call, she thought he was taking care of the reptiles and he thought she was taking care of them. Oh. And so when Adult Protective Services reached out to me, they just said, hey, we have this couple. Of course, they don't know much about reptiles. So they said they have a whole bunch of reptile equipment and cages and things like that they want to donate to you. And I said, yeah, no problem. I'm going to have to rent a U-Haul because it was a lot of equipment. And then the wife emailed me and she said, I just want to be clear about what you're walking into is that we had this miscommunication and his health was really overtaking our lives. And so everything in the room is dead. And everything that died in its cages is still in its cages. So I immediately emailed her back right then and there. And I said, is anybody still alive? Even barely. I will drop everything and come get them tonight. Because she was just one town over from me. And she emailed back. She said, nope, who's in there has been dead for at least 9 months to a year. And I said, okay. So I rented mummified. Yeah. So I rented a U-Haul. I went out there the next week. One of my education ambassadors who does programs for me came with me and we're unloading equipment. And the girl that works for me, she takes this 20-gallon tank out front and I hear her just scream bloody murder. And in my head, I'm thinking, because I'm a mom, right? I go instant, there's blood, right? She dropped this glass, she severed her foot. Oh my God.
Worst case scenario, immediately.
Right, because that's what we do as moms.
Yep.
And I go running out there. No, there's this little sand boa is in there and it's still alive.
Oh, wow.
And we were shocked. Shocked. It is nothing but bone. I mean, just skin and bone. And so we ended up not taking everything because I was like, I gotta go take care of this. So I take it back to my office and we soaked her and she drank down a ton of water. Honestly, I assumed at that point her kidneys were probably shot. I didn't think she would make it. She drank down a bunch of water. She got checked out by the vet. She eats like a champ and she is happy as a clam now.
I bet.
The girl who found her, she said, well, the only name appropriate for her is Beyonce because she's a survivor. So
I love Beyonce.
See, that doesn't surprise me with sand boas.
Sand boas are tough.
I had one in college get out in our apartment. And I lived with a roommate in my apartment and he had a wiener dog. So, and I assumed it fell out of the back it went out the back of the tub and went around the wall. And I assumed it went into his room. And his room was a mess. It was nothing but clothes for days. And I assumed it probably got in there and his dog probably ate it at some point because it's a dachshund and it's probably going to eat it.
That's what they do.
It's probably good. Time goes by. He ends up moving into an apartment downstairs. And I end up moving into the apartment next door with Katie. So we move in together and I forget things. Time goes on. And 3 months later, another friend of ours who also lives downstairs, 3 apartments down, is out smoking on his porch when another neighbor of ours,
the neighbor in between them,
walks up to him and goes, hey, Look what I found crawling across my foot outside. And he shows it to my buddy. He goes, that's my friend Sam Boa. And he got to me 3 months later. We found it. It must have come down when my friend moved
That's
downstairs.
all we can figure because when he moved, he just like threw all the clothes in baskets and shook them down.
And then it somehow got outside, crawled across this guy's foot. And luckily, this guy didn't kill it.
Yeah.
Showed it to my other friend who knew it was mine. And I got it back. And it lived for, he just finally died like a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah. It lived for a long time.
Lived for a long time. Those guys,
they're tough.
They are tough.
There was that. And the only other time that we've ever had a sand boa baby kind of like escape, I guess.
That was only gone for like a couple of days.
It was only gone for a couple of days, but you couldn't find it. And you finally, Joe was like, what, 5, maybe 6?
She's a little older, but she found it it was like in the kitchen.
It was like in the kitchen on the floor. And she was like, look, I found it. Because we were like, if you find this thing, we'll give you $10.
Because we
were in the house. We had just moved in the new house. So it was only like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was funny. She found it like right after we told her that it had been missing.
Yeah, they'll live for a long time. Like I've had litters where, I try to let them go as long as I can and try to get them to eat. And sometimes babies just won't eat. It's the whole reason I own king snakes now. So that I finally get to the point like, yeah, it's time for you to go. And they're still alive, but yeah, they'll get down to skin and bones and still be alive. And I'm like, you'd think you'd be hungry at this point.
Right. Yeah. Well, she's doing great now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah. See, my weirdest, besides the ones I've lost, I had someone call me once. They had a sand boa they bought for their kid at PetSmart. And I had worked at PetSmart at one point. So I was like, all right, well, when they bought it, and they've only had it for like a year. And so knowing PetSmart, it was going to be small because PetSmart sells really small sand boas. They had it for a year. So I was like, yeah, it's going to be small. I was like, that's fine. I'll come get it. And I come to their place to get it. And it's a 10-gallon tank with easily 8 inches of aspen. Like it is just they must have bought an entire thing of aspen and put it in there. And it's like 8 inches of aspen. I'm like, great. There's a baby sand boa somewhere in at least 8 inches of aspen.
Right.
So I'm digging. And all of a sudden I hit something like, fuck. And I realized that's not a baby. And I pull it out and it's easily 2 foot and like,
oh yeah,
like the size of a giant sausage. I'm like, what the hell do these people do to this thing? Because there's no way they bought it at that size from PetSmart. But yeah, it was this massive female that I still have her today. But that was the weirdest one. Like normally when someone's like, I've got a big snake, I need you to come get this big snake, and it's like a foot long. I know it's a sand boa; they're not big in general. But when you think someone tells you it's a baby, I'm like, okay, it's a baby, and it's not. It's a full-grown female.
Wow, that's crazy.
That, and then I've had lots of reptile people. We always end up with, rescues. People can't keep stuff anymore.
Oh yeah.
I had a boa once, redfoot that was a red tail that was probably 6 foot long, but her head didn't match her body because they obviously power fed her. Mm-hmm. And she got really long,
but her head was.
But she had a little bitty head.
It was weird.
And so I had to like feed her. Like she's got this big body, and I'm feeding her like medium rats because it's the only thing that can fit past her jaws. Yeah. And by the time I got her to be proportionate, she was over 8 foot long.
Wow.
But she wasn't fat. She just, by the time her head caught up to her body,
right,
she was about 8 foot, a little over 8 foot. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. I saw on your Facebook post that you made the other day that somebody had commented about power feeding, that they think power feeding is cruelty.
Yeah, that was my dad said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably, that's one of the toughest things about cruelty investigations, because I get asked that a lot. Like, is it just so awful, the things that you see? And it is. Like, it's absolutely horrible. But like when I'm training my students, when I'm doing my cruelty lectures, I tell them one of the hardest things like that nobody's prepared for when they go into cruelty investigations. Because if you decide that like that's what you want to do, or you watch the shows on TV or anything with the Sarah McLachlan commercials, whatever you're watching, everybody's prepared, like a little bit prepared. They know they're going to see horrible things done to animals. They know they're going to see terrible humans and the creative things they can think of. But the hardest thing that I wasn't prepared for when I started my career is being able to separate illegal behavior from just kind of shitty behavior, right? So power feeding in and of itself, while I don't agree with it, I don't do it. Yeah. I don't think it's in the best health interest of the animals unless it's causing actual physical harm. Like maybe if it were causing some form of MBD, or if it were causing bone disfigurement, something like that was quite major, it probably isn't going to actually constitute cruelty, especially here in Texas with our cruelty laws. So it gets really difficult to separate that. Like when I worked in animal control as a cruelty investigator, I used to get calls all the time from people that they would say, my neighbor doesn't give their dog toys and my other neighbor doesn't love their dog. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. That's not illegal.
Well, I figure, and I want to get back to the questions in a second, but I figure also the tricky thing is, we all assume when we think of animal cruelty that this person is horrible. It's this person that's beaten this animal. But there's also these cases where you get there and the person doesn't realize what they're doing is wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're not doing it out of hate or being malicious.
Well, it's like that couple that you were saying. The husband's health was deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
He thought his wife, she thought he was. It was literally just a bad miscommunication
We'll talk about
situation.
talk about folks in the country, right? People in the country keep dogs different than people in the city, right? And dogs are thought of differently than people in the city. And so if you're grow up that way, and that's the way you always see people treat dogs, even, and look, I love dogs. We have 2 of them. I like one of them. They're dumb as hell. They're just dumb. They're dumb. If you feed them, they'll fucking love you, even no matter how horrible you are to them. Right. They're not cats. I hate cats, but cats
are the supreme species on the planet.
Well, if you ask them, they are, but
no, if you ask me, they are.
Indoor cats. Indoor cats
Indoor cats only. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I hate outside
cats.
Are
the best.
But that's what I always tell people. How many? And I've seen them, but usually if you see like a starving cat in the wild, it's because it has like some sort of illness. You see starving dogs in the wild because they're dumbasses, and if they can't find garbage, they're gonna starve to death because they don't have hunting abilities left in them.
Right.
But like cats, just if you let your cat from inside the house that you love on go outside, it's a mass murderer. It's just ingrained in it to kill stuff. They're completely different animals. So like dogs, unfortunately, they get treated a certain way by people, and people think it's right, but because
it's funny that you bring that up, because our article that we read today was on guard animals for goats.
Donkeys.
And so we talked about donkeys, we talked about llamas, which I didn't actually know about.
Oh yeah,
people use llamas for guard. I didn't realize that. And then they talked about dogs, but the article specified how a working dog is different from a pet.
Yeah.
And so of course that got like a whole conversation started in my 4th grade classrom.
And that statement alone is incredibly factual, but it does get people very fired up.
Yeah,
but it's very true. Those animals that are bred and trained and raised for a job are not pets. It doesn't mean they're not loved, and I think that's where people really get hung up on it. It doesn't mean that their handler doesn't love them. It doesn't mean their handler doesn't take excellent care of them, but they do work, and they're not like, I have the world's dumbest dog on the planet and his name is Darwin and he's so dumb. And he would be that one that if he got out, he would die immediately because he just wouldn't know what to do. Right.
Yeah. He doesn't come in a bowl. What is food? I don't know what.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But he's a pet, right? He lives in my house and he sleeps on my couch and he plays with the cat, right? Like, he's a pet versus an actual working dog or a working llama or, something like that.
Go ahead.
Well, so there's in Texas, you have the Bluebonnet books, which are like books that are selected for certain age group kids to read. Right. And last year there was a book called 2 years ago, there was a book called Stella about a dog who was a bomb detector.
Okay.
But her owner had passed away. And so it's basically like told from her point of view about how she recovers and eventually like can do life again. Yeah. And then the one last year, it's the same author. It's called Just Gus. And he protects I think it's sheep in the book. Oh, yeah. But it was one of my kids today. She was like, wait a minute. Is it like in the book that I read last week, Just Gus from the library? I was like, yes, that is a great example of a working dog. Yeah. And the author does a really great job of explaining like just how much these animals are loved and just how much they're cared for. And, going all in to really just, but like the dog doesn't like coming inside. Because if he's inside, he can't get to his flock. Yeah. And so it's a very interesting, especially for kids, to be able to see that point of it.
Yes, Bill Radovich, we called each other ahead of time to make sure we all dressed the same.
Yeah, we didn't.
Oh, yeah, we are all matching tonight.
We are.
We planned it. Well, so like, it's like people look at sled dogs and you'll hear.
Yeah, that's another thing that really interests me.
We'll see where you stand on this one. I fucking hate PETA with every fiber of my body. I don't feel like they care about animals as much as they care about being PETA. But people like that will see working like sled dogs and they'll think that's cruel. But those dogs fucking love that. They are made to pull. They want to pull. They want to do it.
Right.
So you know what that makes me think of? So we had snow not that long ago.
Yeah, we had a day of snow.
And it was like 2 days. We missed 2 days of school. Thank you so much. But our friend Megan has.
Well, she has a Pyrenees.
Yes, she has a Great Pyrenees. That she could not drag him into her house.
Yep.
And like people are blowing up online about, I can't believe you're leaving your dog outside. That dog was living his best life laid up in the snow for 2 days.
Yep. Yep.
So that's people talk about animal cruelty. And it's funny when we talk about people talking about my neighbor didn't give their dogs toys or this or that. There's one thing that I think, I know it's not animal cruelty and it's more of an opinion, but there are certain dogs I don't think we should keep in the South because they don't get to, like, Pyrenees are kind of on that list. Huskies are kind of on that list. St. Bernards are on that. Like, anytime I see someone in the summer walking their St. Bernard, I'm like, that dog is miserable.
Yeah.
Like, it is not meant to be in 110 degrees.
So actually Great Pyrenees and Kuvas and Anatolians, which are kind of all in the same grouping of working dogs, actually are pretty heat tolerant dogs for the most part. But the Arctic breeds, right? They just popped out of my head, the Huskies and the Malamutes, right? And all of the what we consider Arctic breeds. Yeah, they're not built for our Texas.
They like to lay in snow.
We had a Husky growing up, and as soon as it started to warm up in South Alabama, she would go get her coat blown. Yep. And then within like 2 weeks, she was getting like shaved, and we kept her trimmed real thin for South Alabama.
Yeah.
And then the opposite end is our daughter's fucking Chiweenie that if it drops below 60, won't go outside.
She won't even go outside.
Right. Mine as well. Yeah. She's a big baby.
When it snowed, she would not go outside.
She wouldn't even go stand on the concrete.
We just kept her in our daughter's room with a pad down.
We just put puppy pads down everywhere. Yeah. Now our dog was like losing her mind in the snow. She loves it, but
yeah.
But yeah, so I want to get to the questions because some of that gets ties into some of the questions.
Wait. We did not go back to Chicken Heart.
We'll get to, I promise we're gonna get back to Chicken Heart.
Okay.
I do want to. Darren did have one question. Is your class a one-day class?
Well, with my Humane Educators company, we have over 30 classes on our roster. So they're anywhere from 4-hour classes to 2-day classes. The class that I'm here in Garland teaching is tomorrow and Friday. So it's a 2-day class. Has nothing to do with reptiles. So it's not.
I imagine if you're doing like a municipality or something, that's probably a multi-day thing. If they're trying to be trained some sort of.
No, it really depends on the topic. So tomorrow I'm doing the next 2 days. I'm doing my dangerous dog investigator class. So I have that class. I'll have police officers, animal control officers, and lawyers actually in that class. And so it's all about how to investigate and declare and do compliance on dogs that are declared dangerous in Texas.
Yeah.
So it depends on the topic. Because like, for example, I teach 6 different rabies classes. My shortest rabies class is about 4 hours and my longest is 2 days. So, and there's a wide variety in between.
You just end up watching the Old Yeller at some point.
I mean, we do talk about Old Yeller and Cujo a lot. Yeah.
That's what our kid needs to watch Old Yeller.
Our kid
would make her cry.
No, she wouldn't.
No, you know what, watch.
Our kid is the least emotional child on the planet.
Really? Have they seen Neverending Story?
No, you haven't either. We got to watch it. I had trauma from that as a child.
Cry?
I'm still going to cry.
Marley and Me.
Wait till her dog gets about 15 years old and watch Marley and Me.
I told you.
I watched it twice. That was fucked up.
His dog was like 14. Right? She had already been declining. I was like, do not under any circumstances watch this. I leave the house. I come home. He has pulled that dog onto the couch with him and he is bawling his eyes out, holding her. I was like, why? And then like 2 days later, he did it again.
It was on his own.
Because we're all emotional cutters. That's why.
No.
I'm so sad.
I still haven't seen it. I'm like, absolutely not.
Don't do it.
I won't watch. There's one with Dennis Quaid. Is it A Dog's Journey? Maybe
he's the voice of the dog.
No. It's like the dog keeps coming back to him in the forms of other dogs. And I'm like, nope, won't watch that one either. I cannot watch Homeward Bound.
Oh, I fucking love Homeward Bound's amazing.
I cry like 7 times.
There's no sad part. They all survive.
I cry at every happy part of that film. I can't do it. I can't.
A Dog Journey is a much better book, is what.
Oh, I could read the book. Books don't get to me as much as films do.
That's why movies are better than books. Thanks for proving my point, Danielle. Movies are better than books.
No.
You just said they don't get to you as much as movies do.
They don't make me as emotional.
That's right. You heard it here, folks. Katie agrees. Movies are better than books.
Unless it's the new Hunger Games book, which I had to return.
Anyways, getting to the questions. All right. So
Yeah.
the first question I want to do is, what do you think constitutes animal cruelty in the reptile world? And we kind of hit on some of that, but it's definitely kind of a different thing. They're not the same as dogs and cats.
But like Tabitha said earlier, and I guess I'd never really thought about this. There's a difference between cruelty that is illegal and your opinion of what is just not okay.
Right.
Right. So it's actually not as different as dogs and cats when you boil it down to what is animal cruelty. Now, if you change the question to what is going to be successfully prosecuted, that's a difference. That's a different question.
Yeah, that.
But as far as what is animal cruelty, it all boils down to the same thing. It does not matter the species. So there's basically two forms of animal cruelty. There's active cruelty, which is a lot of times premeditated or intentional. So this is going to include things like blood sports, so like dog fighting, cockfighting, horse fighting, and
horse fighting.
Horse fighting, yeah, they fight.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Do they at least strap weapons on the horse and give them a chance?
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Picturing like armored horses.
You just it's like dog fighting or cockfighting. They just turn the horses loose.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying I want to see this because it's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
But I am very curious as to horses fight. I mean, I've seen them grab. I just am picturing like armored horses is what I need. It's just like
no, James.
They wear like
they're not gladiators.
Gladiators.
Not gladiators.
Not armored. But anyway, it also includes things like torture, if somebody, intentionally does something to an animal, and then which is way less common than passive cruelty, which is that's what a huge chunk of cruelties are. And so passive cruelties are the things like you were mentioning before. Ignorance or financial, like I didn't know that I had to feed my snake every week, or I couldn't afford to. I couldn't afford to buy UV lighting, things like that. So and even things like hoarding falls under passive cruelty. So these, and passive cruelty is the overwhelming majority of the cruelties that are getting investigated.
And I imagine those people are, the punishment for that is different too. I imagine there's a much different punishment for premeditated versus, this person just doesn't know better and they still gonna get punished, but it's not going to be the same as.
Maybe not
in Texas. Not in
Really?
Texas.
Really?
The way it lays out in Texas for our what's called cruelty to non-livestock law, which is what reptiles and other exotics would fall under. Because in Texas, we separate cruelty to livestock from cruelty to non-livestock. So there's livestock and then everything else. So in cruelty to non-livestock, basically, as far as what you guys are mentioning of like, was it premeditated, whatever else, that's called culpability. And culpability here in Texas is a grading scale. So it starts with intentionally, which is the highest rate of culpability, goes all the way down to criminal negligence. And so with cruelty to non-livestock, it's intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly. So as long as the investigator can show probable cause that the crime was committed intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly, the actual charge that the suspect will be charged with is actually based on the crime itself, not on the culpability. So, for example, torture is going to be a third-degree felony here in Texas. But then things like abandonment would be a Class A misdemeanor. So it just sort of varies based on what the crime is, not their culpability of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But getting back to the original question, the simple answer is cruelty is pretty much the same with all species. If you are not providing adequate care for that species, that can be cruelty, whether that's not providing food, water, vet care, shelter, whatever it is. If whatever you are doing or not doing with that animal is leading to a deterioration of that animal's life or physical well-being, that could be cruelty.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We've got a couple answers here. I want to read over the couple answers of what they thought constitutes cruelty and kind of compare it to that. Our buddy Aaron King said getting the reptile and then not providing the heat or UV required, which is kind of what we mentioned. Not feeding them when necessary, not changing their water enough, not cleaning and changing their substrate when needed, and not giving them an enclosure big enough for the species. And those last three are kind of a tricky one because they're, I don't say opinions, but I mean, there's more than one way to keep an animal. And sometimes these are hard to judge. It's hard to judge. look, I don't keep all my snake cages super clean, but I do it for a reason, not because I'm lazy, but because a lot of my snakes I think are calmer in a cage that smells like them
Yeah.
than they are.
Yeah.
Well, the chameleon message board people on Facebook lost their minds when we put plastic plants in Jim's cage because we were killing our animals.
Still waiting
That's
for
what
them
they
to die
said
over
to
there.
us.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it's again, it's no different whether we're talking about dogs, cats, horses, or reptiles. It's going to come down to you can't. I wish that investigating animal cruelty was just as simple as like this always is or this always isn't. But when I'm training my students, I always tell them when you're investigating animal cruelty, equate it to looking at a gemstone, right? If you've ever looked at a gemstone, there's lots of cuts, lots of facets. You have to look at each and every one, and all of them have to say yes in order for you to go, yes, this is animal cruelty. You can't ever just go. I mean, we've all been subjected to the Sarah McLachlan commercials, right? We understand. A video of a puppy in the snow, and we're crying and calling our credit cards in. It's heart-wrenching, right? And it's hard to watch that stuff. That's why it's one of the reasons it's very difficult to investigate animal cruelty, because sometimes you're looking at this case and you're like, yes. And one thing you're like, nope, it's not. And your case is pretty much over a lot of times. So when we're talking about things like dirty substrate or dirty water bowl, it's not just if you don't keep your water bowls clean, you're committing animal cruelty. It comes down to, are you never providing that animal clean water? Is it getting the foam floaties that they get after a few days? Is that animal being deprived of potable water to sustain life, right?
Or is your box turtle just going and pooping in her water every single time a kid changes it?
Or your bull snake? Why do they do this?
Yes.
Every day?
my kids take care of our animals in our classroom, and our box turtle, they're just like, why does she always poop in her bowl?
That's why my argument for keeping cages
she does, guys.
slightly dirty is what happens every time you change the bedding for your snake?
Right.
They shit immediately.
Oh, yeah, because they want it to smell like them.
Yes. I also agree. I mean, my reptiles get scooped and cleaned, right? Because I also just don't want to smell it.
Right.
But I'm of the same philosophy of like when they have a shed, I don't rush to take it out of the cage immediately. I want them to feel comfortable. And I mean, they blame it on the fact that I am, as much as I love reptiles, and I am a to my core psychotic cat person, and I love cats. That was my
I'm so allergic to cats.
I just want to pause for a second. Robert's here.
Home from work.
Robert, I'm super happy you're here because Tabitha, it's been great. And since you worked in law enforcement and we're talking about animal cruelty and law enforcement stuff, I thought you'd be very interested. So you'll enjoy this. I'm glad you're here.
Cool.
All right. Sorry, Tabitha. Go ahead.
That's okay. So, it comes down to those things, again, changing the substrate, changing the water, leaving old food in there, whatever it is, it's coming down to, is it being done intentionally, like we were talking about, right? Because I agree, like I was saying with cats feel safer when their environment smells like them. That's why we tell people in shelters, stop cleaning your cat kennels every day, right? Scoop the food, change the food. Don't clean out the kennel every single day unless there's like a diarrhea blowout, right?
Situation.
Same situation. Yeah, I find the same situation with my reptiles. And that could just be because of the species I keep, but that's the same situation. So is it being done intentionally for a reason? Is it being done because they just, like me, I travel a lot and I haven't been back in 3 days, so now I got to scoop it? Or is it a matter of pure negligence? Like they don't care that there's no water in the bowl, or they don't care that it's all brown and disgusting, or they don't care that it's all full of foam and bacteria and disgustingness, and now the animal's starting to languish. That's when it becomes a problem, because unfortunately laws are not proactive, they're reactive, right? So we have to kind of, in most cases, wait for there to be a problem before we can really intervene, especially with animal cruelty.
Yeah, it's like I said, it gets very tricky. And going back to the dirty cage thing, you talk about keeping a bull snake. I mean, these are animals that normally live down in holes and burrows.
Right.
Those burrows smell like them. Like that's where they live. But we get into something like where Aaron mentioned here, not giving any big enough enclosure. That's a slippery slope.
Right.
I keep my Louisiana pine snake, my full adult Louisiana pine snake, in a V70 tub in a rack because in the wild they live in gopher holes. Like 99% of the time, they're okay shoved in a small hole. That's kind of what they want to do.
Right.
And if you go by the rule where everybody's like, well, it needs to be the size of their entire body or 1.5 times their body, like he would go ape shit and something. They
Yeah.
don't do that. There's a reason we don't find Louisiana pine snakes because they're all underground.
Well, and
Right.
that's why they tell you, like with bearded dragons, don't get the adult size cage to start with because it's going to freak out because you've given it too much space.
Yeah.
And so that's a tricky thing. It's got to be a tricky thing to enforce. Like, I'm sure someone has complained that this. It's the same thing with dogs. Like, right. So my neighbor changed or leaves their dog in their backyard or changed their dog up. Yes, you may not do it, but if that dog has shelter and food and water and healthy, it's not. I mean, they didn't have they did the chain rule or whatever.
There is
I
a
don't know what
tethering
that
law
is.
for dogs. Yeah,
But-
there's a tethering law for dogs. But as long as they're meeting all the terms of that tethering law, then again, I don't tether my dog. But again,
No, our dog goes inside. Our dog
12-pound
is
porky
so
poo. I mean, he would die. So I mean, I don't do that. I'm not a fan of it, but in and of itself, if they're meeting all the terms of the law and they're providing everything that animal needs, it's not considered cruelty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's very tricky in a world where everybody puts human emotions on animals, right?
Oh Lord.
With reptiles, it's also so many times someone talks about, well, so and so needs a friend. No, it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't.
Remember, James, on Saturday when we were doing that event, the lady who was the vendor coordinator was telling us all about how she had bearded dragons. Yeah.
Yeah. And one died, and she was like,
and now the other one's lonely. And I was like, no, it died because
It's not
the other
lonely.
one outcompeted it.
I'd say that the other one probably harassed it, and
she's
that's why
she's
it died.
Now, whenever she's like, I wanted to get another one, but it gets angry whenever it sees like another lizard or it sees this. I'm like, yeah, that's what bearded dragons do.
Right.
They're hostile little creatures that
Yeah.
give you the side eye if you get too close to them.
Yeah, that was
When
another case actually that I took in about a year and a half ago. Is a girl was moving back home from college, and she called me and she said, "Hey," and I don't normally take in animals from the public. There's a lot of other reptile rescues in Texas, and they do that. I normally only pull from these cruelty cases, but she reached out and she was like, "I have these 2 plain belly water snakes that were born and raised in captivity, and I can't take them with me." And I was like, "Well, all right, I'll take them in." Well, she shows up with one 40-gallon breeder with about 10 inches of aspen, and there are 2 plain belly water snakes in there somewhere. And I was like,
That's
fantastic.
a great plain belly water snake enclosure. I don't know what you're talking about.
Now,
And I said, oh, she goes, "Well, I don't listen. One's really big and one's really small. And, I go to feed them and one bullies the other one." And I'm like, yeah,
well, yeah.
right. I'm not surprised. So that was fun fishing them out. Kind of like you were saying with the boas, fishing them out and then separating them. And now I gave one to another rescue, but the one that I've kept, he's doing great. I mean, he's a typical Nerodia. He's a jerk and he poops on me and bites me all the time, but he's getting fat and healthy.
A couple things in the chat real quick. Darren wants to know, is removal of invasive species with air guns ever considered cruelty?
Ooh, that's a really great question.
Because you're allowed to shoot pretty much any invasive species, right? There's not too many laws on when you can or cannot kill them, right?
Well, so that's actually 2 separate issues. So if we're just talking about, is it cruelty to shoot an animal, whatever the animal is, with an airsoft or a pellet gun? It depends on that situation. It does depend on the animal. So here in Texas, with our cruelty laws for non-livestock, basically the only time cruelty can happen to a wild animal, which is going to include even our captive snakes, our captive lizards, or wildlife that you find outside, is it's only cruelty if the animal's been previously captured. So to give you an example of that,
Gotcha.
At the sheriff's office, I was sent Snapchat videos of teenage boys taking very large rocks, throwing them at squirrels in the tree, knocking them out of the tree and crushing them, right? Crush the squirrels. That is not considered cruelty here in Texas because the animal was not previously captured. However, when I had a lady who was, and I had this on multiple occasions actually, I had a lady who was trapping raccoons in a have-a-heart trap, tying a rope to them and chucking them in the river. That's cruelty because the animal was previously captured. It had no chance of escape, right? Is kind of the idea in that law. So if somebody's outside shooting a wild animal with a pellet gun, as long as the animal hasn't been previously captured, it's likely not going to be considered animal cruelty unless they catch it first and like catch it in a trap or put it in a net or something, and then they start shooting it. Now, the second issue is, are you violating Texas Parks and Wildlife laws by poaching any sort of game species, whether they're invasive or not? So that's a separate issue, and that's really more something a game warden is more prepared to answer than I am.
Like
And
hogs are. Go Go ahead.
Good luck getting the DA to take charges most of the time anyway, no matter how bad it was, if it wasn't a dog or a cat.
It is a lot more. Yes, it is a lot more difficult. I was incredibly lucky, and I want to be very clear about that in case anybody is watching this thinking this is what I want to do for a living. I was insanely lucky with my county that I worked for because I had a rock star county attorney, and he never said no. So he was very much of the opinion of like, the more cases we can get to court, the more this is going to get it in the public eye, and the more we're going to be able to get these cases prosecuted. And so I was very successful in my county. However, that is very much the not the norm. For
what county is that?
Cat, horses, snakes, it doesn't matter. That's not the norm across Texas.
No, not at all. I pulled over a horse trailer one day because I could see that 2 horses were down. It was a junky ass gooseneck horse trailer being pulled by a junky ass truck. Yeah. And I could tell there were a bunch of horses in the trailer, and I could see that 2 of them were down. I've had horses my whole life. So I pulled this guy over, and I go up, and there's 7 horses in this trailer. 2 of them are down and dead. 1 of them is down and hurt. And the other 2 are so thin they could barely stand.
Right.
And I made him go. We were right by our equine vet's office. I made him go straight to our equine vet, and we started, sorting it out. And it took me. I had to go to the grand jury.
Yeah.
And testify. I had to insist that they let me present it to the grand jury. Yeah. Because the DA was not going to take charges on it. Mm-hmm. And I went to the grand jury and showed the grand jury pictures, and they were like, "Oh, true, Bill. Yeah, right. We're taking it to trial."
I bet if it was a golden retriever, they would have thought differently.
Yeah, and these were horses, but the guy ended up getting convicted, and he didn't do any prison time, but he got convicted.
Right. Of course,
got felony probation. But he was also like 65 years old at the time.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, if you can get it in front of a jury, it's a pretty easy case, right? Because juries, again, it's a Sarah McLachlan commercial, and it's, it tugs at the heartstrings. The problem is not getting it. The problem is not once you get it in a courtroom. The problem is getting it in a courtroom is a lot of times the problem.
Of course, this was also like 2005. So,
if
that would have happened today, that would have ended up all over social media, and there would have been huge public outcry. And we might have been able to get a little more done, but that was
Robert,
before Facebook existed.
Hey, Robert, check which microphone you have turned on. I know.
Is that what that feedback is?
No, that's the reason why it sounds like he's talking in a can. It's using the wrong microphone.
Oh.
Yep.
Funny.
So let me go over a couple more of the answers we had for the what constitutes. Jason Creek Moore said to add to Aaron, forcing animals to fight for views, which we talked about. That is definitely on
100%,
there.
Yeah.
Leaving them in cars to overheat.
Yeah.
Which, as someone who's done a ton of reptile shows, fucking drives me nuts to watch someone bring in this hot animal and go, I don't know why it died, and the thing is obviously cooked.
Right.
Is that better?
Yes. Much better. He says overfeeding them, which my dad also said power feeding, which we agree. That's a tricky one, like you said.
Depends.
And dogs are probably one of the number one things that are overfed, and a lot of times that's done out of love, right? But you see so many obese dogs, and that whether legally it does or not, should be animal cruelty, but we don't see it that way a lot of the time.
Right. But again, getting with obesity, especially with dogs, which is what most people can relate to. I mean, I agree. Obesity is, a lot of times is animal cruelty, but it gets to what is the breaking point, right? Yeah. So there's a pretty famous case that was many, many years ago, all over social media, about a 78-pound miniature dachshund. And that's a big miniature dachshund.
That's more than my pit bull.
I was saying my pit bull only weighs 45.
Right. Yeah. And so that the obesity had gotten to the point where it was impeding, right? It was causing joint issues. The animal was not able to move anymore. And so that's when it kind of crosses the line into, we could be potentially looking at cruelty charges. So it really, again, I wish that cruelty was just as simple. It always is, or it always isn't. It just isn't that simple.
And then Jason also said not going to the vet when required. And again, we talked about that the financial thing when people don't have the money, that counts as the two. And then Todd Autry said using them for stupid stunts, which is
agreed.
He said he was in Riesel. Rysel, and he saw the cobra bite. Oh, that was that video that's going around. I just saw it
Oh, I
the
saw
other day.
that, yeah.
The guy one guy in the front was trying to kiss it,
Right.
or try to get it so he could kiss the head, and the guy
What
behind
an
it was holding the
idiot.
body, and it came behind it and bit the guy.
Well, and then the next day, the guy that was trying to kiss it was free handling a Gaboon Viper.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No, not a fan of that. Not a fan of that.
That's where we just we got to start charging people for being stupid. There needs to be we need to find a way for laws to charge people for being stupid. That's the problem.
We should call it the Jeff Leibowitz Act.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh,
I feel like our courts would never come up for air if that was
No.
the case.
just be nothing but.
jeez Louise.
But man,
Yeah.
it
And
would make some
again,
very
even-
interesting court cases, though.
Right. And I'm not a fan of free handling at all. I don't endorse it. I don't condone it. But there's always, again, just like with cruelty, there's that line of where do we draw the line between like education, right? And when is it pushing the boundaries? So I'll give you an example. So what I call my professional programs, right? So when I'm training, like I was saying, building inspectors or utility companies, I have a snake safety and ID class that I do. And I bring a lot of I keep mostly native species. So I bring all my native species and we talk about the myths, because a lot of times they still think that, you can tell the age of a rattlesnake by its tail and things like that. So we go in and we talk about the myths and we talk about, how.
I want I want you to do the story, but at the end, I want to tell you about a great myth that Katie got once when she was doing an education program.
Oh, good. So, I talk about all this stuff, but at the very end of the program, I tell everybody, listen, we're also going to talk about what to do when you get bitten by a snake, especially if you get bitten by a non-venomous snake, because these are people who are like, again, utility companies, cable guys, meter readers, they're sticking their hands in.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the meter readers are,
Right.
that's tricky.
Right. My husband actually works for Spectrum Cable, and he's, constantly sticking his hands in, machines and things. And I'm like, you need to look at it before you stick your hand in there.
I'm way more afraid of like wasp being in something like that.
Yeah. And so at the end of my program, I talk to them about what to do, because I always say that what you have built up in your head of a snake bite, especially venomous snake bites are separate, right? But a non-venomous snake bite, what you've built up in your head is 1,000 times worse than what it is. Well, I happen to have a 14-year-old Texas rat snake, and his name is Mr. Grumpy.
That's all of them. Okay.
And Mr. Grumpy hates everyone, especially me. So what I do at the end is I pull him out. He bites me 3 or 4 times, right? I bleed like a stuck pig. And most of them go, oh, that's it? Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I always say to them, like, I'm not going to do anything crazy with him. I don't force him to bite me. I'm not like, he's happy to do it.
It doesn't take much to force a full-grown rat snake to bite you.
He's happy to do it. But I feel like sometimes people look at that and go like, oh God, you're stressing him out. Right. A little bit, animals are going to be a little bit stressed when they go to a show, when they go to do an event, things like that. But most of my snakes have been doing this for, anywhere from like 3 to almost 20 years. So most of them are pretty, used to being out in the public, but that's a situation where we have to kind of like think about what is that line. And that's something that I think about pretty much every time I do a program is like, is that something I should continue to do? Is it too stressful for him? Is it not? Is it just because he's an ass? Maybe that's his happiest day ever is when he gets to bite me.
He's living his best life. And
like, finally I get to bite that bitch again.
Right? He's like, oh, yay. Right. So happy. Doesn't even care when he gets fed. He just wants to bite me. So it's constantly like walking that line. And one thing I'm super happy about that I know a lot of people in the herp industry right now are not, is I'm really excited for all the young people that are getting into herps.
Oh yeah.
Because the young people are coming in better informed and they're challenging these old timey herp stuff. Right. And I think that is, whether people agree with it or disagree with it, I think it is brilliant that new ideas are coming in. And I think that's really the way of the future.
I agree. The only problem I have, and look, it's on both sides. My only problem is the ones that enter in with the idea that the way they think is the only way to think.
Oh, yeah.
That one drives me. Because look, someone that may be keeping for 30, 40 years may be stuck in their way. But someone who may be keeping for 30, 40 years may be doing something away that you think is outdated, but works perfectly for what they're doing and actually is good. But the problem is someone comes in with, they watched a YouTube video.
Right.
They're like, this is how you got to do it. And I'm like,
right.
Calm down. You've been doing it for like 3 weeks and you watched one video.
Yeah.
Chill. But I do like the idea of questioning stuff.
Yeah.
That's necessary. You can't
100%.
just accept everything. Question, but if you're going to question something, please know how the fuck to research something. Because as a teacher, oh my God, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And what's really horrifying is when I find people like my age that still can't do it either. They're still just as stupid. I'm like, oh God, it's not just this generation.
No,
We're stupid all the way across.
Yeah. It drives me, as a researcher, it drives me crazy.
The other thing I was gonna say, what I think has got to be fun, and this is not, I know it may sound like a negative, but it's not. It's a very positive.
Yeah.
When you do these programs for all these workers like this, I'm assuming a lot of times it's rooms full of guys.
It is.
And so I think it's got to be not demoralizing, but very weird for them as men, horrified of a little tiny snake, when this woman in front of them is taking all these snakes out and is not afraid at all.
Very badass.
I think that's hilarious.
I'm going to be honest with you, and this is probably makes me a terrible human being, but I love it.
Oh, I would too.
I love it. I loved nothing. Even when I worked in animal control, I loved nothing more than getting a call that there's a big, 5-foot rattler out on the property. And I go out there and there's 6 grown cowboys climbed up on the cattle fencing that won't come down. And I've had literally gotten out of the truck before and had like grown men say to me, "Where's the man? Where's the man?" And I'm like, "That's me."
Yeah.
That's
all you get.
As we should look at them and go, I'm wondering the same thing right now.
Right. Exactly.
A couple of years ago, my son and I were down in South Texas hunting. We were on a youth hunting trip at the Chaparral Wildlife Management Area. Mm-hmm. And in town right there's like 3 places to eat. One of them's a steakhouse, and all the troopers that were down working the border eat there every night.
Yep. So
we pull up, there's like 25 trooper cars out there, and I see this trooper on the porch, and it's like a rock garden and a exposed aggregate porch with big wide expansion joints that had rotted out long ago. Mm-hmm. And he's got a trash can in front of him like a shield. And I said, the only reason you do that is if there's a snake there. But I could just tell his whole demeanor. So we walk up and I look down, and it's a night snake.
Oh yeah.
And it's, this big.
That big, yeah.
And it's in the crack, and I look at Logan and I'm like, grab that night snake. And he's like, okay. And he reaches down and picks it up, and the trooper just turns ash white.
Yeah.
You're having your son pick up a rattlesnake? I'm like, it's not a rattlesnake, look. And so then he's like, what is it, a grass snake? I'm like, no. So then like 4 more troopers come out, and my son proceeds to give them a lesson on how to identify it as a night snake. And
I love it.
And then he tells them it is mildly venomous, but it probably won't bite me.
Right.
And he was 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And he went out and let it go. There was a bunch of crickets and a bunch of little small geckos on that porch, and I'm sure that's what they're eating.
So he was mostly just mad that his dinner got interrupted.
Yeah.
Trooper. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was funny watching that big trooper just hold that trash can between him and this, tiny 8-inch little snake.
Right. Right.
So you talked about old wives' tales and everything. One of my favorite is, so we both, Katie and I used to work at a zoo in Louisiana, and I was the reptile keeper. She was education. Mm-hmm. So she did a lot of programs. And we had a Honduran milk snake that would get used to a lot, big Honduran milk snake.
She was cool.
And Katie got told, was it multiple times?
Multiple times when I was pregnant.
When she was pregnant with our daughter, she had to be careful because that milk snake would try to steal her milk.
And it would attack me. Yeah, I was like,
I've heard that one.
See, really? So that first time I heard that, I was like,
I've heard that one.
I had to like remind myself to fix my face because I had never heard that before.
When you hear stuff like that from an adult, it's completely different than hearing it from like a 10-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you hear from an adult, in your mind,
were
you're
older.
like,
these were like people my parents' age,
well, like in your mind,
in
you're
their
like,
60s.
This adult should be just as equally as smart as me.
Right.
And then you hear that and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I thought it was like a one-off thing, but no, it happened like 4 or 5 times while I was pregnant.
Oh my God. I was, I heard, I'm originally from San Diego, California. So when I came to Texas, when I first came to Texas, I felt like you should have to have a passport to come here. But
I did the opposite. I went to San Diego to go to college.
I would have stayed. You should have stayed.
Oh, if I could have afforded to live there.
I know it's too expensive. But when I came here, I was really shocked, right? So then about a year and a half ago, I was doing a program for a utility company, and all the technicians are in there. And these are like men. right? Men, they are all in Magellan.
They're what you read about in books.
They're outside all the time, leathered up from the sun.
Yes.
Right. And annoyed that they have to now be indoors for a training because they don't like,
with a woman.
And they
well,
know
they took
about
an outdoor
snakes.
job because they want to be outside, not because they want to work in an office, right? So they hate training day, right? So I'm in there and I'm talking to him about snakes and everything else, and I'm debunking all these old wives' tales. And the class gets over, and this one of the older guys in the room comes up to me, and he was like, "That was a pretty good presentation." I said, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate that." And he goes, he clearly didn't believe me that these old wives' tales are all garbage. He did not believe me at all.
Yeah.
He was like,
I love when I get people like that.
Right. He's like, "That's nice," and everything. He goes, "But I know one fact about snakes that's 100% true." And I'm like,
Lord.
"Hit me," right? I always want to know new things. And I am not joking. When this man was dead serious, he looked me in my face and he goes, "If you kill a cottonmouth and you hang it from a tree, it'll bring the rain."
I have people. I have people in South Alabama that are like 4th generation farmers. I graduated high school with them 20 years ago. And when I tell you at least 3 times a month, this time of the year, I will see on their Facebook, "I'm going to need somebody to find me a snake to hang on my fence." I'm like, Jesus, this does not work, guys.
Right, well,
that is not how the weather works.
No, but you did better than I did because I did bust out laughing. I thought he was kidding. So
I actually have heard that one.
So he looks at me horrified that I'm laughing at him. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, you were serious." And I was like, "Sir, if killing snakes brought the rain, I'd be out there killing them all because we need the rain." Yeah. And he was like, "No, it's true." And I was like, "You know what? All right."
Yeah. Crazy.
Explain
I do.
Science to me.
I know people that 100% not only believe it, but do it. It's
right.
So weird.
Well, I was behind a guy once. He was driving, and I watched him run over a snake. And so I stopped the car, got out to go check on the snake. And as I'm standing there at the snake, I see him turn his reverse light on, back up at me. And I'm like yelling, "Stop, stop." And he stops.
Right.
He gets out, and it was a king snake. It was a pretty speckled king snake, an adult, but it had been hit. And so I took it off to the side of the road, and I found a little piece of metal, and I went ahead and chopped the head off and dispatched it.
Yeah.
And the guy tells me, "Well, it won't die till the sun goes down." I was like, "Well, I just chopped its head off. I'm pretty sure it's dead."
Till the sun goes down.
I was like, "What the?" It's like the guys when I used to feed alligator snapping turtles at the zoo, and they
won't let go till it thunders.
They won't let go till they hear thunder. I'm like, that's not how. Just wait a minute, you'll watch it. They'll let go. I promise.
Right.
I had forgotten about that one.
I just don't understand. Like, I mean, I grew up with the same thing everybody else did, right? Like, I was raised with these old wives' tales too. But I mean, maybe I was just an ass of a kid because I remember when I was little, I was probably 8 or 9, and my grandmother said, the whole thing about baby rattlesnakes, right? They're more venomous. And I remember I thought about it for a minute because I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better at the time. And I thought about it, and I looked at her and I go, "Well, okay, but what age do they magically get this sense to be able to control their venom?" And she looked at me horrified, and she goes, "You know what? Don't ask me questions. Go play."
Well,
I was told when I was a kid, I still hate blow drying my hair. Yeah. So my mom would tell me that if I went to bed with wet hair, that I would wake up with an ear infection. Obviously, wet hair probably has nothing to do with an ear infection. But it made me blow dry my hair when I was little.
Well, that's like, so I'm a high school biology teacher. Right now I'm teaching anatomy. And the one thing I make sure my fucking kids understand before they leave my classroom is the color of your fucking blood. Because still in 2025, every year all kids go,
"I don't know why
it's blue until it hits the air." No, it is always red unless you're a horseshoe crab, and none of you are.
Right.
It is red. And then I have to go through that whole process. One year I had a kid go, "My mom is a nurse, and she told me it's blue." And I looked at that kid and said, "Well, your mom's not a good nurse."
Right.
It's those kinds of things. You're like, it's 2025, and we have. So growing up in the 90s, we got the internet and computers, and we spend hours on a computer just doing stupid shit, making websites and finding. Yeah, you thought, "Oh, the future, people will be smarter because information is now literally in your pocket."
In your pocket.
Fuck, they're dumber. They're so much dumber.
Yeah.
And now they have no excuse for being dumber. And it's why I look at them like, what? Just Google something. Just go once.
Right.
Instead of just believe it, Google it.
God, I Google so much stuff on a regular basis. Like my kids will ask me something in the middle of a lesson and I'm like, I don't know, where's my phone? Because I never know where I've set my phone down in my classroom. I'm like, who sees my phone? Let's Google it. So like whoever's closest will bring me my phone. Like we use Google so much in my class.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. There are so many teachers that will never, ever admit that they don't know something to their class. And I'm the first to be like, I don't know, let's learn together.
I think it's smart. I think regardless whether they're kids or adults, everybody should be comfortable saying, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, let me get back. So the second question we had was, do you think reptile animal cruelty cases are treated the same as dog, cat, and livestock cruelty cases? And explain. So let me go through their answers, and then you can definitely shed light on. We kind of hit on it a little bit, but our friend Danielle, she's in the chat earlier on. She still is. Says not even close. She's a dog person. So she said the general was a dog person who's also a snake person. Yeah. The general public does not like reptiles. Unfortunately, a lot of cases depend on public outrage, which I'm sure is true. We'll talk about it in a second. Jake Butler said, no, not even close. The reptile industry is an unregulated industry, and that is why when they begin regulation on them, you'll see the same attention being shown to reptiles as with mammals. It's completely true. And then my dad, he said it's a double-edged sword. As with what Jake said, it will take regulation to generate that kind of attention, but the same regulation will make it harder on the hobby, which
we see that all the time.
Well, and we also talk about what do you regulate? We talked about cage size, right? You can't regulate when you start doing minimum cage sizes. Who makes the idea of what a minimum cage and what a maximum cage size is?
Yeah.
Who makes the stipulation on how clean something has to be or how it has to be set up or. And that's hard to do, and it's much easier for us to do, especially with mammals, because there's a way mammals have to be kept versus reptiles,
right?
And we've been doing dogs and cats much longer, and people like dogs and cats much more. So I'd like your opinion, but I definitely think that's probably a big issue. Is the public outrage of a hoarder with snakes that died versus a hoarder with 20 dogs that died.
Right.
Completely different outrage.
Oh, yeah.
One will be on the news. One will be a little blip, and then we'll move on. Unless 10-foot snake got out public, and then it's a huge story.
Right. So it's absolutely true that reptile cruelty especially is not even remotely seen in the same league as small animal or livestock cruelty at all. And you're right in that reptiles are seen differently in the view of the public, but it's not just the public. And it pains me to say that, being a cruelty investigator and somebody who trains cruelty investigators and works on cruelties all the time. But I find this even in the professional animal welfare industry. Like I still every day hear from students, oh God, kill it with fire. I don't like reptiles. Snakes scare me, yada, yada. And it's not that they're bad cruelty investigators or bad animal control officers or bad cops. It's just that it's hard to change our brain when we've grown up thinking that these are big, scary animals and we have to be scared of them. And it's hard to remember that we also have to work for them, right? So it's one of the things that I do kind of behind the scenes when I'm doing trainings or conferences is I challenge other animal welfare industry people. And I say, you're fighting really hard for dogs and cats and horses and cows and sheep, and that's great. What have you done recently for your exotic cruelties? What have you done recently for your reptile cruelties, your amphibian cruelties, and all of those types of cruelties? And a lot of times you can just kind of see the gears turning. They're like, oh, I never thought about that, right? And so, I'm trying to help kind of change that even on our professional side, because it's not just the public that thinks this way about reptiles. I do think that I have some hope that is changing both professionally and in the public sector because of things like YouTube and, which is, again, a double-edged sword. But a lot of younger people are getting on YouTube talking about better husbandry and better care and better standards. The thing that I actually disagree with in the comments on that question is I don't think that regulation has anything to do with cruelty. So if states or cities or counties want to regulate something, whether you agree or disagree with regulations, the regulations are going to be about species, husbandry, things like that, versus cruelty, right? So for example, there's a city here in Texas that has listed hognoses as venomous species, and you're not allowed to have them in the city. That would be a regulation. It has nothing to do with cruelty. Does that make sense? So
Corpus Christi won't allow you to have corn snakes because they're constrictors.
Right.
Alvin won't let you have any snakes.
Alvin doesn't allow any exotics.
Right. Or my favorite, because I actually, part of my job too is I go through and like I call it red penning, but like review people's cities ordinances and tell them like, hey, this is in conflict with state law or things like that. And the number one thing I see about exotics is people ban a bloom slang. BLOOM, a bloom slang. And so I literally circle it in red pen and I go, you know that I could take my boom slang straight down to downtown because you didn't ban a boom slang, you banned an imaginary snake.
That's why you got to ban. That's why a lot of bans now go by genus or species to try and get around that.
Because I was doing ordinances yesterday for this class I'm teaching tomorrow, and 3 of the agencies that are in my class, they do it by species or genus. I forget which one they have in there, but they had Helodermatitae, right? So they're trying to ban the venomous lizards, right? Yeah. The heloderms, but they spelled it wrong.
Huh.
Is that the loophole that you get away with it?
That's the loophole.
Well, that's also what drives me nuts. So when I lived in Louisiana, when they finally passed, they passed a law that was originally going to be all 6-foot constrictors would have to have a permit, which was ridiculous because that'd be like big rat snakes. And then they made it 8 foot, and then they did a species list. Yeah. And it was 100% obvious that they just Googled snakes over 8 foot,
right,
and made the fucking list.
Right.
Because like carpet pythons got put on there. I think it was Oempelli pythons. Which, 2 people have.
Right.
It was just the species of anacondas we don't even have in the United States got put on there. Like, this is what happens when regulation happens. Because so in the chat, Christina says possibly regulate based on knowledge or experience with reptiles. Yeah, that seems like a valid argument, Christina. That would be great. The problem is regulation and laws don't get passed by reptile people.
No.
Laws get passed by lawmakers, and they don't know shit.
And they think they know what they're doing.
And then the company, the group that has all the money is, which I've already cussed out once tonight, is PETA. And the moment you start doing regulations, they'll get involved, and they don't want you to own any fucking thing because they're extremists, and they're a homegrown terrorist organization. But the problem is,
let it out, James. Let it all out.
Passion. But reptile people won't make the laws. They won't. So that's why any laws that exist, like we just talked about, these ridiculous laws that here just in Texas alone, not being able to have corn snakes is a crazy, crazy thing.
It kind of blows my mind.
I didn't know about that one. But when we're talking about the laws, right, where we have state law versus city or county ordinances, when we're talking about state law, you're 100% correct. They are written by legislators who are trying to, win elections and keep their constituents happy. However, you absolutely can get involved with the state legislature. Yeah. I was literally at the Capitol all day yesterday, working on meeting with legislators, talking about some of the animal related bills that are up against the legislature this year, and literally going in and meeting with their aides and advisors, talking about why these bills are important or which bills are terrible and we should ignore, vote against or whatnot. But as far as, and that's a lot more involved because obviously you have to be at the Capitol in Austin. But with city and county ordinances, those are actually remarkably easy to change. You just need to go to your city councils or go to your commissioner's court. And if you've never been, like, nobody goes to those.
And go calmly.
Go calmly and go with facts. And that's the thing. I absolutely adore it. Is literally one of my hobbies is going and speaking at city council meetings. I love it. So, but literally, like, nobody's there. Nobody.
Well, and then you also have to know,
talk about it,
how the laws work. Because like in Louisiana versus Texas, so like with the herp shows and most of our Louisiana herp shows are venomous shows, because the state law trumps parish law. Whereas Robert, I think you told me to here, county law trumps state law on some things, right?
Which is so weird because, like, in the whole country, it's federal, state, county, local, and the lower one can be more restrictive than the one above it, but not less restrictive.
Right.
That's so weird that Louisiana is backward.
I think it's
no,
us.
it's not. It makes perfect sense that Louisiana.
Yeah, because she's not responding to us.
Uh-oh. Did we lose someone?
No, so our stuff messed up, and Robert's frozen on ours, but I don't think he's frozen on yours.
He's not frozen on mine.
Yeah.
Nope. And see what's going to happen is it's going to jump in a second, and then fast forward on our end.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Now we're back. Now we're good.
Yeah, we didn't freeze up.
Nope.
I know. I knew it was us.
Because earlier, Tabitha froze up, but we could see you moving, Robert. But obviously, she was still having. It's weird. Anyways, back to.
I'm surprised because I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. So
yeah, no, we're on expensive Wi-Fi. We're on expensive Wi-Fi, and it goes out all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
And I'm on cheap Wi-Fi that works really, really well.
Yeah. So, anyways, Robert, you were saying the one Trump and the other, and all was what we're talking about.
I said it. Everybody else heard it.
Well, not on the recording. They won't, because the recording here's what we say.
So it's federal, state, county, local, and local can be more restrictive than county. County can be more restrictive than state. State can be more restrictive than federal, but not less restrictive. So that's really weird that Louisiana does it backwards. And then I said, it kind of makes sense that Louisiana does it backwards because it's Louisiana.
Yeah, it makes sense. It does.
Yep.
I live there. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was going to go to work for New Orleans PD.
That would be a whole idea.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. They had like this catch-all charge called crimes against nature.
Oh.
But that was like if you ran from the police, they didn't have an evading arrest charge. It was crimes against nature. If you got caught urinating in public, it was crimes against nature. Okay, prostitution was crimes against nature. It was like this one catch-all misdemeanor that they had that is now gone because they completely redid their penal code in like 2005. They still had stuff based on Napoleonic law. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. As late as like 2004.
Okay. So I want to get back to chicken hearts now.
Thank you.
Chicken hearts.
I want to know what you have that eats chicken hearts.
Oh, God. All right. So my blue tongue skink will eat chicken hearts.
Yep. I feed that to mine. Loves them.
Yep. His favorite food, though, is hard-boiled eggs.
Yep. Mine goes ape shit for hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah. There's almost nothing he won't do for hard-boiled eggs. But he likes Reptilinks, too. He's really, he's a dump truck. He'll eat anything. So he eats chicken hearts. I feed cut-up chicken hearts to my garters.
Nice.
Along with pinkies and tilapia. They love that. So they get quite a varied diet. My king snakes will eat them. My Mexican black king snake eats them.
Yep.
I've never tried, now that you guys were mentioning it, I think I'm going to try it next time I feed. I have a couple different species of rat snake, and I've never given them chicken hearts.
I'm telling you, out of the 5 corn snakes I fed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I fed last night.
Yeah.
Only one didn't take it. The other ones went. I had a little one that probably would have eaten until he burst.
Wow.
And so he just.
I've never given my corn snake chicken hearts. I just realized. I feel like I'm not utilizing them enough. I do feed them a lot, but maybe
I just bought the tray of them at HEB, and I was like, all right, we're going through every tub in the rack, and we're going to see who will take a chicken heart. Like some of my baby boas took them, and I was like, sweet, this is so much cheaper than a mouse.
When I buy them at HEB, I usually buy like 2 trays at a time because sometimes they run out. And then it'll be like weeks before I can get them again. So I buy a couple trays at a time. And then because I'm crazy, what is it called? Like the vacuum sealer stuff?
Yeah.
I vacuum seal them independent of each other. So I can just put them, because I have a big deep freeze for all my feeders.
Well, I started getting them because I've got we're an hour and 30,
holy crap, we are
minutes.
an hour and 38 minutes in. This may be the longest you've ever gone.
Maybe. I've got a Chinese alligator at my house.
Wait. No, we talked about him earlier.
No, we didn't.
We did. We talked about, we took him back up to the school for another event.
We did.
Damn, I got
so I was trying myself to feed the Chinese alligator because he's gotten to where he only wants to eat mice, which is fine. It's what he gets. It's a whole prey item. He'll only eat mice.
Kyle, HEB is a grocery store that is an entire experience in and of itself.
It's a grocery store, and if you go to the right one, you can buy lawn furniture.
I've got super cute clothes too.
Yeah.
A lot of my cute little Texas dresses came from HEB.
And they have their own brands, and some of their own brands are really good.
Yes.
Their chocolate chunk cookie brand, their own brand. Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the Chinese alligator. I found the great thing for them was, so I needed to get more calcium into his diet. So I bought some like a human calcium pills with D3 in it.
Yeah.
And chicken hearts are the perfect pill pocket because once you get it inside that little valve, works great. And so that's why I use trying to get him extra calcium is to put it right inside the chicken heart.
Brilliant. I love it.
So chicken hearts are awesome.
Chicken hearts are the best.
All right, Kyle. First off, Kyle, it's Kroger.
No Z.
There's
No
not
Z
S
on the
and no
end.
Z. I don't know why you put a Z on it. I've never seen that. That's weird. Stop that. There's no S or Z. It's just Kroger. At least you didn't put one on the end of Walmart and call it Walmart's.
Yeah. Although, depending on how many Walmart locations you
That's
have
different.
to hit up in a day, you can put an S on the end of Walmart's.
That's true.
Like we went to the one in Alvin and the one in Missouri City looking for a table the other day.
Oh, shit. Jason said the guy that started HEB's name was Herb E. Butts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
So funny.
And he named his daughters Ima and Yura.
Mm.
And it wasn't butts, it was just butt.
But
Yeah.
I'm a butt, you're a butt. Everyone's a butt here. But anyways. So, anyways, chicken hearts. Katie wants to. Robert, have you eaten chicken hearts?
Yeah.
I figured.
See,
I figure he eats chicken feet. He'll eat the heart too.
I found like 4 recipes I want to try now.
Katie wants to try chicken hearts now.
I found a one that you skewer them and grill them.
You skewer them and grill them.
Yeah.
I'm feeding them to the snakes.
It could be fun. It could be my
Yeah,
new favorite food.
Oh no, I can't do it.
I bet it has so much protein.
I mean, it's only protein, a little bit of fat on the side of it, but
Let's Google that. How much protein is in a chicken heart?
I mean, it's just protein. It's like 100% protein, except for the small sliver of fat on it. Anyways, you have any more questions, Katie? Because you said you had a plethora of questions.
Dutton, I loved this episode.
This was
tonight.
really good. I hate that Robert wasn't here for the beginning of it.
you.
But
Yeah, you really got to go back and listen to this one. You will really
I got
enjoy
stuck
it.
at a crawfish boil, and I don't even like crawfish.
I was saying you don't even eat crawfish.
Son of a bitch. Why do I always miss out on the crawfish?
We did 300 pounds of crawfish this afternoon.
Oh my god.
You could have brought me as your plus
So-
one, and I would have eaten your share of it.
Yeah,
You don't-
I
so
could, you're
I
right.
hate that you weren't there this weekend. So this weekend we did it.
I know.
We did a big crawfish festival. Robert and I sold a bunch of our 3D printed stuff. And I don't know how many people they had in there. It was a ton. I was actually surprised we didn't sell as much stuff.
Man,
They
I'm
said
going to
about,
a funeral.
about 6,500.
The problem was everybody was in a rush once they got in to go to the crawfish.
Well, yeah, you
Because-
got a tray.
Because the way it works is there are a ton of competition teams there doing crawfish and barbecue.
Hmm.
And you just go up to the competition team booth and they give you free crawfish until it
Well, it
runs
wasn't
out.
free. It
Well,
was,
you pay.
You paid to get
You
in.
pay to get in.
Yeah.
But once you're in, it's all you can eat crawfish at any booth. So you could go around and try everybody's crawfish to see who had the best. And it was my dad went to a couple of the booths and got crawfish, and then Katie unfortunately was out of town. I didn't get to go eat crawfish.
At a funeral.
I mean, you didn't have to go. I didn't go to my own grandmother's
I
funeral.
was
You didn't have to go to your
watching
grandmother's
people
funeral.
leaving on while we were packing the truck up. There were people
bags.
leaving with garbage bags over their shoulder,
Yeah.
half full of crawfish, barely able to carry it,
I would say that's going to go home and get peeled
and
and
frozen.
tailed and frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. That's awesome. Maybe that's what I'll do this weekend.
Well,
I like crawfish and stuff.
There's
The
a place in
event-
Pearland I want to go try.
the event provided the crawfish for all the teams.
Yeah.
Oh,
So part of your fee was
Your
think they said they
crawfish.
did 10,000 pounds of crawfish this weekend.
damn.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
It was. They were driving by us with like a
I bet
Like
it
a
smelled
mule?
amazing.
like a ATV mule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With each time it would go by, going back and forth, it would have like 20 sacks in the back of it,
Damn.
and they were just taking them in and delivering them.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need crawfish now.
I'm going off a Tabitha's face that she does not eat crawfish.
But she said earlier she didn't eat any of that stuff except for eel.
Eel.
Did you not pay attention to that part of the conversation?
Well, she said she didn't eat fish. And
Yeah,
Crawfish
I don't,
counts.
I don't eat any shellfish, none of it. And I did. My sister and I went to the town that we're in is called Hutto, and they have a big crawfish festival or something every year. And we went one year, and we were like, we've never had it. Let's try it. And we bought one plate of crawfish, and it was a big styrofoam tray full of crawfish, and we each ate one and immediately gave it to somebody else. It was terrible.
I like crawfish.
I hate
in-
it all.
If you like, it's good in etouffee or like on a po' boy, like fried crawfish tails on a po' boy.
Yeah.
But I'm not much on peeling because that's too much work.
But I don't like any shellfish. I don't like lobster or crab or none of it.
Yeah, then you won't like crawfish.
Yeah.
We always end up talking about food.
We
first
talked about food the
first
first
half-
like 25
Yeah,
minutes tonight.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's why we went back to chicken hearts.
Yeah.
But Robert, I'm a little disappointed you didn't get the memo about the color scheme tonight.
He's in camo. He's sort of there.
Camo. All right.
I didn't get the memo, but I apparently got the telepathy.
I know. When I sat down before we started, I was like, man, I should have taken my school shirt off. And then I was like, oh my God, we all have the same color on.
Yep.
Kyle's comment was, I was trying to see where he was going with this. He said, crawfish is my exit plan if I ever get diagnosed with dementia. He grew up loving it and then developed an allergy 10 years ago.
No, sir.
Just going to leave the world with crawfish.
No, sir. Oh my God.
I love how Christina says, no regular fish like salmon. I don't know how you define regular. Like, I do know how you define regular fish, but like, how is that the regular fish? Salmon?
I say I don't get salmon down here in Texas regularly. Regular fish to me is what you can go out and catch.
Catfish. Right down here, regular fish would be catfish.
That's funny.
They said good crawfish is like mini lobsters. If you didn't like it, you didn't get the right ones.
Oh, no.
Everybody around here wants to put all the seasoning on the outside, and it bugs me.
That's not the main way. That's how way a lot of restaurants do it here.
Yeah.
That's not the way that people do it in their backyard around here.
No, but unfortunately, those aren't the people that I'm buying it from on the weekends. So that does me no good. There is a place in Pearland. It's just like a drive-through shack, basically. It's called a Chafalaya.
There's a side on the side of 6. There's a trailer that's there like for like 3 months out of your
I think my guy moved because I haven't been able to find him.
Katie, you need to go to Santa Fe and go to Pook's Crawfish.
I need to go. Yeah, I've been
That is
told
my
about
friend
that
Greg
place.
who owns that, and everybody says it is. He was my partner on the police department. Everybody says his crawfish is amazing.
I've had a lot of people tell me about that one.
All right. Yeah. So Christina said fish with scales, but when I think salmon, I don't think of it as a fish with scales. Like I think of it as a fish with skin.
What?
Like catfish has skin.
Yeah.
Like I think scales. I think down here, I think
redfish.
Which has scales.
Nothing.
Yes, salmon have scales according to Google.
I mean, I know they do, but they're very, very small.
We talked about using Google earlier.
They're very small. They're not like I don't think of people cooking salmon on a half shell the way they do like redfish when they leave.
You can eat fried salmon skin with the scales on, but you're not going to eat fried redfish skin with the scales on, right?
God, no.
That's like eating armor. You can't.
I was going to say that's your gladiator right there.
Robert, did you know they had horse fighting?
That doesn't sound real.
She told me. Tabitha said they have horse fight. I
wish it wasn't real.
I pictured them like gladiators.
But
I
but not on purpose.
I pictured them with armor on, but she said no, it's just them fight, which was way more sad. But it was,
I guess you just put 2 stallions in and put a female that's in heat nearby, and they're gonna fight.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Until they bite one's nuts off.
Dude, and when 2 stallions fight, you do not want to be anywhere near that.
No.
That is
it's brutal.
Luckily, horse fighting is not as popular in Texas as dog and cock fighting are, but it does happen occasionally.
Where is horse fighting popular?
It's popular in Mexico.
I'll say Mexico, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was a cop in a mostly rural area, and we had a lot of a pretty big Hispanic community kind of on the south side of town. And there was 2 times that we busted a huge cockfighting ring.
Okay, hold on. Christina asked cockfighting because I know.
Hold on, I gotta say something.
The way you're thinking, Christina, is not the way. I mean, I wouldn't want to watch that kind of cockfighting, but it may interest you. But that is not the kind of cockfighting we're talking. So I'll let Robert.
Very different.
Because the freaking Galveston Daily News published Galveston County Sheriff's Office bus cock ring fight.
No,
Christina, that's not. Don't get excited. That's not what we're talking about.
Please tell me you cut out that paper and
oh my
framed it
God.
in your
Oh
house.
yeah, I have it in a book for sure.
That would be amazing.
All right, Christina, it's when you take 2 roosters, which are cocks,
rooster fighting,
and sometimes they'll strap like blades on the feet, and then they let them fight until one kills the other. It's pretty fucked up.
They cut off the natural. Roosters have a natural spur that grows. Like if this is their foot, a natural spur that grows out. They cut that off and they replace it with either what's called a gaff or a slasher. So a gaff is almost like a long pointed needle almost, and a slasher is like a long hooked knife. And when roosters fight, it's with their feet, and they basically disembowel the other one. It's very fast.
It's like a homemade raptor claw.
Well, and
what it makes
I remember growing up, there was a trailer, so you could always spot the cockfighters because they had those little metal teepees in their front yard, and they had their chickens strapped to the teepee. And so you drive past house, and they'd have like 20 of these teepees made out of just metal roofing, and their chickens are tied up the way you would tie a dog up outside. Tied up to that. And I remember because my dad used to ride bicycles, and he rode out in the country, and he rode past this one trailer, which we always would pass. It had little teepees and chickens tied up, and the guy's dog came out chasing them. And it happened every time my dad would go by. So finally, my dad got off the bike, picked up the dog, and threw it back in the yard because it would come after him every time. Because, of course, the dog wasn't tied up. The chickens were. Right. The dog wasn't. And the guy comes out drunk as hell going, why would you do that? And my dad's like, you got to get him to stop chasing. And then the guy took a swing and missed. And so my dad hit him and knocked him down. And the guy looked up and goes, why'd you do that? Fuck. But yeah.
Listen to the song Gallo de Cielo by Randy Rogers Band on YouTube, and it explains the whole sport of cockfighting.
Or watch Eastbound and Down.
Oh, yeah.
Eastbound and Down talks about it in there.
Season 2. First episode of season 2.
Or The Hangover 2.
Yeah.
It was The Hangover.
They're the cocaine-filled cocks that were cockfighting. But it's not as fun as the name would apply, Christina. It's not like a strip club down the street. They're not doing cockfights on Saturday night. That's not the kind of cockfighting.
With your little pool noodle swords that you made.
Although I will say, when I'm doing my cruelty lectures and I'm covering the cockfighting laws here in Texas, and we go through the class line by line, all of these laws, and one of the definitions in the cockfighting law, I am convinced that whatever legislator wrote this law thought, you know what, let's place bets on how many times we can get the word cock in one sentence. It's so, and nothing phases me, like nothing phases me or embarrasses me. But I can't even read this definition out loud. I change it to rooster. I can't, and I tell the students, I'm like, you can read it how you want. I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to read rooster because I can't say that word that many times.
I would say cock over and over again as many times as possible.
Radovich said that would be called cock jousting, not fighting.
It's a different kind of competition.
Oh, Lord.
A little bit different.
And I don't know how you judge the winner, but if I had to watch it, I'm definitely the loser. Anyway,
it's a whole new meaning to reverse harem romance novels here.
Gross.
Oh, fun times.
So I'm guessing, Christina, either they don't have cockfighting in Idaho because you're too busy growing potatoes, you don't have chickens, or you just don't get out enough. You know what? It's probably the potatoes. So you just have too many potatoes.
Too many potatoes.
I'm sure if you take a trip on down to like California, somewhere down there, they're cockfighting. Get to South California, I'm sure.
You got to go really far south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been off the rails all night.
We're not off the rails. This is our train track. This is pretty much where we stay. I don't know what you're talking about.
Fun times. It's because
I may try to bring up cockfighting from now on in every episode, just so a weekly update on cockfighting.
Yeah.
James, you need to add one of your little sound buttons as Ozzy screaming all aboard.
You're going to get flagged or something.
Oh, man. Anyways.
Somebody somewhere is
I agree with the comment earlier. Christina said we need to have Tabitha back on at some point because there's like a million things that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
Because we ended up talking about chicken hearts and cockfighting a lot. So.
Well, I'm happy to come back on anytime.
Absolutely.
And we educated Christina on cockfighting. So now she knows all about cocks.
Right.
And we found out about horse fighting.
And this is a case where sometimes the bigger the cock, the better. Size does matter sometimes.
Right. Sometimes it does.
A little banty chicken.
Man, have you ever dealt with a fucking little banty rooster before?
I was just about to say little banty roosters are batshit crazy.
Yes. We had one. I'm going to tell a quick story. My grandpa had this little banty rooster that he loved, and he named him Asshole because he was an asshole. And that fucking rooster just would like there could be 10 people out in the garden, and if he got in there, he came after me. And I was about 13 or 14 at the time. Well, I had some cousins that lived behind our 20 acres on the backside, and I would go back there and play baseball with them. So I was walking through the garden area, and I didn't know Grandpa it was kind of at the end of the growing season, and he would turn the chickens in there to let them, clean up and turn over the dirt and all that stuff. And I'm walking through the garden. Mind you, our garden was like 2 acres. Just his personal garden was like 2 acres. So I'm walking through, and I see that little fucker coming, running. So I'm like, all right, Grandpa wasn't home. Grandpa was gone. So I get my baseball bat and like get ready. And when he gets to me, I fucking hit him like a golf ball. Bink! And he flies, hits the barn, hits the ground. I see one wing kind of go up and down, and I'm like, good. I'm going to go play baseball, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to bury that little fucker and tell Grandpa I don't know what happened to him. Maybe a hawk got him. So I come back, I don't know, 2 hours later, and I'm walking through and I look and he's not there. And I'm like, well, shit, maybe something really did get him. All of a sudden, here he comes out of nowhere, fucking flying through the air, trying to get my ass again. That little dude was tough. And we had an understanding after that. He didn't mess with me too much after that.
Funny. Oh my god.
Jason said we should make a drinking game of how many times I can say cockfighting per episode.
People will
I
die.
will get y'all dead. Trust me. If the challenge is how many times I can say cock in a conversation, you better be drinking water.
Oh my gosh.
You
Please
can die from
don't.
too much
Please
water,
don't.
too.
We've talked about possible drinking games with our podcast before. People will die. Please don't do it.
I see it as a challenge.
Please don't. Oh my.
Anyways.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to go because this fan is
I hooked up that little fan. I put it on a tripod.
breathing now.
And that thing is, it was hot in here. And now it's like icicles in here.
Yeah, my hands are frozen.
And I had to turn my hotel air conditioner off so that you guys wouldn't hear it. So it's 1,000 degrees in here.
Yeah, we're gonna get that fixed.
Can y'all hear this 3D printer running at all?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my big one that's loud.
I didn't know what it was.
Yes, I can.
But it's weird though, because it's like a weird
It's a high-pitched-
feedback, high pitch sound.
It's basically a CPAP machine that runs the air on that thing.
Oh.
And because it's so fast, it's moving so fast that it has to have a lot of air movement.
Oh, Christina, speaking of
So
3D
loud.
printers, I'll have Robert send you some pictures of, we talked about cocks. I'll have you some things he prints. He's got a cockosaurus.
They're not chickens.
No, we're not talking about chicken.
Oh, all right. Tabitha, if people want to get a hold of you, if they're interested in your programs or any of that stuff, how can they get a hold of you again?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, which is austinreptileservice.net. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and my daughter who works for me runs our TikTok, which is not as active as it probably should be, but we have all of those things. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
And if you have any questions about cockfighting, please contact Tabitha. She will fill you in on all the details.
No,
about
you
cockfighting.
were gonna get us flagged.
What? It's a thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's roosters, Katie.
Jeez.
Calm down. Little tiny dinosaurs fighting. Because again, as we talked earlier, dinosaurs most likely taste like chicken.
Tastes like
No,
chicken.
sir.
Yeah.
You got no proof, Katie. So therefore, dinosaur nuggets taste like dinosaurs. If anybody learned one thing tonight, dinosaur nuggets taste like dinosaurs.
No.
Tabitha, if you'll hang around for a second, everybody else, we will see y'all next week with somebody. I'll find a guest between now and then. Thanks for coming on, and good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
They can